26th meeting to order. Tom or someone from Tom's office sent us an email with an update on the meter installation situation, and it sounds like progress is still being made. Meters are slowly but surely being installed, and if I could figure out where the numbers are here.
Is it 273 or 5 or
Oh,
something?
Paul printed it. We're up to 258 installed, 456 to go, according to Corey's numbers. And there are, let's see, they've looked at 311 properties, and 53 of them require some kind of alteration at this point, primarily plumbing.
Chair?
300?
Pardon?
300?
They've looked, well, the total number of properties that have been looked at is 311, 258 installed,
60 some odd.
44 require plumbing alterations and so are not installed, 9 require structural and they're not installed.
About 1/6 overall, sir.
Yeah.
Well, you're the smartest one here, so we'll put you in the center of the table.
Sure.
So we're in our second round with door hangers. You know, it's really dropped off a lot. So, and I was talking with Stacy about it too. I'm kind of wondering, we need to up our game a little bit as far as getting people to contact us. So, would there be a way, and I know we're working on the ordinance, but is there a way that we could put some sort of additional fee in the rates and fees to force their hand to contact us?
Not until
And
one rate increase passes.
Yeah,
Right.
you know, I don't know. Again, you know, we're in the second one, and I haven't worded it really. I think if we do a third one, this needs to be stern.
Yeah, we need to
Like-
start saying now we're...
Like,
Right.
if you don't contact us, this is gonna be on your next bill, or something.
Right.
Because we can only chase people down if they don't call us. We can't schedule them. So I'd like to keep this going, and like I said, they've dropped off. I mean, it's been kind of a blessing in disguise a little bit through the holidays, and then with plow, and then maybe that's part of it. And in the winter months might be a little tough if we get busy, because we've had to cancel a couple because we just didn't have staff. But I'd rather have us keep scheduling like we were initially at 4 or 5 a day or more.
Right.
And that pace, then you're gonna be down to a point where you're gonna get down to a couple hundred of the real problem childs, and okay, now how do we address these?
And then a subset of those are going to be the ultimate group that we've kind of touched upon a couple of times. What's
Yep.
the financial break point where it makes no sense to pursue it?
Right, or there's gonna take a lot of alteration inside, and there are quite a few that the actual plumbers are just installing them, which is kinda nice too. They're having to alter, do something in their house, it makes sense, it takes them an extra 10 minutes probably by the time they get it all cut out of the way.
So how does this relate to the ordinance question?
Well, I think it's also an issue of how you structure the base rates, and
You could do it with the base rate.
Yeah.
You could just do it with the increase of what you're doing. So you increase, not this time, but next time we increase straight across the board on the connection fee. And then maybe the next time we just say, non-connected.
Yeah, I mean, all you can do is
Yeah,
keep bumping up the non-connected.
yeah. And that's,
If you make it substantial enough that catches their attention,
Yeah.
I don't know, I mean, if we're working on the ordinance, and even if we finish the ordinance, what is it, 60, 90 days before that we go into,
Right.
so there's no teeth to
yeah.
try forcing
I mean,
these people to contact us.
And the ordinance can be as simple as there's no water service without a meter. Period.
unless you've received specific dispensation
Right.
from.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think the quickest is, which is still going to be, you know, you're gonna have to adopt a change,
To the rate schedule.
yeah,
Mhm.
and wait for that, so that's gonna put us at the May billing.
Right.
Well, you could mention the fact in a letter to people that this is going to be happening. In
Yeah.
other words, get it done now because we're telling you that as of such and such date,
July 1st or September 1st.
and you can predict that you're going to
Yeah.
have that ordinance. If you can figure out what your
Yeah.
ordinance is going to be, you're going to say that you're going to have that ordinance in effect as of that date, and that will increase your rate.
Which would
so
be
you can
good.
you can tell them, you can promise them, and that might
Yeah.
inspire some people.
Yeah.
And I think we need to, you know, basically clarify our last rate increase, because there's a lot of kickback downstairs where people say, why am I paying a connection fee? I've been connected. And I think it
Yeah,
was, a
the
lot had to
wording.
do with, well, the wording is difficult to put it mildly, but the coverage. And so they ended up not realizing and thinking this is something new on our bill.
Yes.
Because we have rearranged the bills significantly in the last year and a half or year.
Well, it's interesting that Ann had said that because I have a note in my office because been working on the annual report. And I think that might be, not that everybody gets it, but maybe another avenue for me to have a one-page saying, you know, we're already in our second round of door notices, we're not getting people calling us, you know, we are gonna go to a third round and blah, blah, however we
Right.
feel we might wanna word it. I'd like, it's been nice to see this project going along, and I just don't want to see it get stalemated and just hit a wall.
Would it be worth it to consider doing reports from the task force?
Reports in the
In the
annual report.
in the annual
That's an
report.
intriguing idea, given the amount of energy the task forces have put in this year. I hadn't even thought about that. I think it's a great
particularly
idea.
the finance one, I mean, and that would address it, so if somebody's interested and
Yeah.
you could, you know, make a note that, you know, there's this specific. Or you tie it in our case right to the department, so there's
Yeah.
Tom's report and then task force. I don't know, you
It's
know.
also a really easy one for social media. Hey, wake up. Have you got your meter in yet? No? Call Tom.
Well, once we come up with some sort of a one-page flyer or report
Yeah.
that, you know, we can put some teeth in. And,
Well, that's the
put it
thing,
on
we
social
can't,
media too.
we can't just arbitrarily throw a warning out if it doesn't have teeth.
Well, that's,
Right.
Yeah, I mean, the teeth basically come down to when we look at rates, we're gonna have the window in March, April to look at our year-to-date and figure out if we need to tweak the rate for the billing for the period beginning May 1 to segue into the new fiscal year, because we'll have a better sense of how this year is going at that point. That would be the time to start bumping the non-metered base rate.
Well, so maybe this is too simple, but could we, it would stink to have another rate, but could we have non-metered inspected rate and a non-meter uninspected rate?
Something along.
So that the people that have reached out, but
Wouldn't it be
have,
fun?
Wouldn't be penalized.
Wouldn't be
yeah, I see what you're
penalized.
going, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the people
Yeah.
that haven't reached out,
How would,
You're the only one who doesn't like the multiple rates.
well, how,
I know, but we don't have the teeth to push people.
how do we do that
well,
downstairs?
in some
Yeah.
very,
That'd be the next
They just said another category.
Well, how would they know what category to set? Like, is
Um,
Cory gonna
we-
have to send them?
Well,
Yeah.
we'd have to set it up, so, I mean, I like that idea, Paul,
Yeah.
because say we send something out, we could also say, hey, in our next rates and fees or structures, this is what we're going to do in order to get people to call us. So
Yeah.
just as a heads up,
Right,
and okay, if you do call us and we get inundated and you're already on the list, you won't be penalized as long as, you know,
As long
you're
as you
on the
call,
list
right.
and we're ready to try to schedule.
right.
It's getting a hold of them, that's
Yeah.
the real problem.
And then the other thing is the ones that have requested and you can't fulfill, then they can go in the lower rate schedule because
Right.
at least they've tried.
At least
Right.
they've tried.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
don't
either
penalize them
trying
for-
or being on a list.
Right.
And then if you're on the list for 2 consecutive periods, you get, you know,
Right, and by then we'll have
Yeah.
the ordinance
yeah.
detailed and be able to shut water off and all that stuff.
And then, because long-term, we're going to need some variation on that non-metered inspected rate for whatever cutoff point we select as
Right.
the economically or physically impossible
Right.
infeasible
Right.
situations.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know, whatever we pick for a cutoff.
right.
As long as you've got the account numbers, there's no problem with setting a different schedule.
So I know I volunteered to help with this, like, you know, fact sheet or info sheet that we're gonna mail eventually to inform the public about the changes and the rates. I feel like this should be the same piece of paper, right? It should be like a big fat warning at the bottom.
Yep.
So, do we want to synthesize what you just described, Paul, so I don't get it wrong in this sheet? So we're gonna have a non-metered inspected rate and a non-metered uninspected rate. or hookups deemed infeasible.
Right.
Okay. And then non-metered, uninspected.
We shouldn't say
Right,
not
or-
feasible, I mean, it would be, because it might be feasible, I mean, if somebody is moving towards that, if they've been told they have to get a plumber and they can't get a plumber, or we haven't heard back apropos of a plumber, I mean, is that, yeah,
And it could be a hardship there too, I mean, depending
Yeah.
on how
Well,
detailed.
I say that's a
At least-
professional judgment determination. It's
Yeah.
either feasible or not feasible for many reasons.
Yeah.
Okay. Because otherwise you're gonna
Agreed.
confuse the ladies
Oh, yeah.
downstairs and
Yep.
hookups that have not been.
they don't get confused, the problem is explaining it to the public. So Patrick has a good point there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or must have water installed or face surcharges.
yeah.
Surcharges. Is that a good way to put it? Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to hijack and keep going.
Maybe you should say an additional rate increase, but a surcharge might be considered something different.
Yeah.
Because it's
Additional
gonna be.
charges.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Additional
Yeah.
charges.
um,
Fees, fines, I mean, I don't know how.
you can't do it as fines.
No, because
It's part of the rate structure, a
Right.
different rate structure. I mean, it's gonna be a different rate structure.
Right.
Okay, so I'll just say additional charges.
Right. So for the,
And
for the whatever billing cycle that would hit, there will be an additional rate structure. So would you say May, you think?
Well,
May is, we have to adopt it before May.
If we're going to put something in for the May, billing period beginning May 1,
So
we'd have
this
to
would go-
adopt it in April.
Okay. So the,
No, it's another, you have to adopt it prior to the billing. So
Well,
we-
that's what I meant, the billing period beginning May 1 isn't billed until August.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
so we could send this out now, warning people of this May
Yeah.
rate increase.
We could actually.
We're not
put-
waiting till May to warn people
We could
about.
actually put a flyer in with the February bill,
Yeah.
the one
Okay,
page.
That is what we should have this in for the February billing.
Okay,
Because we have the confusion over the connection fee.
Right.
Because we raised the connection fee, so I think we can tell them we raised the connection fee straight across the board, but the next rate increase is going to be structured.
right.
And then that same flyer, if it's a one pager, that could be a page in the annual report, and it could probably also be turned into a whatever format you put onto social media, whether it's PDFs or something more elaborate.
Yeah.
When does that next billing go out? February?
It'd be early February.
Well, if it's early February, it's the first week.
Yeah.
All the billings go out the first week. I should
So-
have some of that here.
So we're gonna want the QR code that connects you to people at Corey, so that they can do this and.
Yep. The email and, yep.
Yeah.
So you're just saying they will be subject to a different rate structure.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
So just to elaborate further on that, to date, we've spent 136,000 and change on water meters. So we're about 86,000 and change over the original 50. What we budgeted. Well, like I said, it has dropped off a little bit. And it could be the holidays.
And snow, I mean, I think people don't think about it as much.
Yeah, probably.
Too.
Which has been good because, like I said, we have had to cancel a couple.
But you're right, we want to come out of the winter with momentum.
Or, I mean, I know winter's not over, but kind of hoping it is. Just throw that out to the public that there's a salt shortage.
Oh, yeah.
I was just told today, I might get a couple more loads, and after that, they can't guarantee me anything. So, I'm hoping winter ends here pretty quick.
Is that Barrett's?
Huh?
Barrett's?
No, it's coming out of Canada.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Do we know how much money is left in the loan that we have available for water meters? If you say there are 456 left to put in, do you know how much money we have to cover for water meters?
That was the calculation that we did, I think, at our last meeting.
Yeah.
We calculated, I think, for 400 additional meters that would come out of the eventual Vermont Bond Bank note.
Yeah.
And we have
And-
enough for it?
Oh yeah, I mean, we only, in fact, we lowered the amount of the total loan request to the Vermont Bond Bank by, I can't remember now, I think it was like almost $200,000 or something.
Is that line item on here? I don't recall seeing it.
No, well, so what we did was we applied for a $2.6 and change million note, and that allowed for an additional $220,000 for meter installations beyond the $50,000 that we had budgeted for this year. Okay.
And we're at 100 and
Which would
something.
get us pretty close.
And we all agreed that would leave probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 80 to 100 remaining that either wouldn't be feasible at all or would be so problematic as to drag us into the future. And it didn't make sense to borrow money now to try and do them. But Tom's right. I mean, the last thing we want to do is borrow $220,000 in April from the Vermont Bond Bank and only
Not
spend
needed.
50,000 of it because we can't get people to do their inspections and install their meters.
And we can only use it for that.
That's the only purpose it can be used
Right.
for. That's right.
Yeah, if the meter project goes into subsequent fiscal years, if we keep that $50,000 item in the budget for.
We figured that would be what would help
one
to
or two
finish it
cycles,
off.
that will cover that as opposed to paying interest on the bond.
But what it all depends on is getting the next 400 meters installed.
Right.
Well, it's less than 400 now, right? But because you've done a bunch of them. But
It's getting people to contact us. That's
what
the
did
real-
Corey's note say there were left by his record to do?
456.
How many?
456.
Yeah, and our calculation was that roughly 100 would probably remain when we were done. So that means we've done about 350. We've done about 50, and we got about 350 still to go out of the Vermont Bond Bank money. I hope, not going to
Well,
work with the
yeah,
Vermont Bond
and
Bank.
looking at the time of when we started this and what we have in now, if people would continue down the same path they did when it first started, boy, by July, August of this year, we could be well
really
on
done.
our way.
Yeah.
That was my hopes, but again, it needs to pick back up again.
Okay, so let's prod them some. I think you're right.
Good.
It's
As long
time.
as we have the money, because at this point, our 50,000, we've spent 136,000.
Yeah, well, we do have the money in the sense that we've got the bridge loan that was actually for more than the Vermont Bond Bank that we're going to take. That I wouldn't borrow more than the 2.6 from the bridge loan, but I think we've only drawn 1.9 on that. We have not, because we've been flush with cash, we haven't gone looking for more money from the bridge note from Sumsic. We're sitting on that, hoping that we don't have to borrow it.
Yeah.
So-
It's all just
It's so nice to hear the words, we're flush with cash.
Yeah, don't, actually, can we like back up and delete that? I don't want that to be misinterpreted
That's a
anymore.
little late.
So our taxes are going down.
Sarcasm.
Timing issues.
It's a good point, Tom, thank you.
So our, excuse me, our major topic really is looking at the budget and seeing if we are in a position to recommend a budget to the council to adopt in its capacity as water and sewer commissioners, or budgets to adopt in their capacity as water and sewer commissioners to meet the deadline for getting them into the annual report. And we have, I sent out a couple of printouts. And we'll probably need some help in being walked through them, frankly.
So, Paul, you weren't here the last meeting, were you?
What was the last one?
So I just want to bring up something that you had suggested it, Paul.
Yeah.
Was leak detection. And so I've kind of looked into that a bit. I get in on the state's program the last time we were allowed to. They're actually coming out with another program early spring that I can apply for. I'm sure we get it because
Yeah.
it's been a few years. I don't know what, since you were in the water,
Yeah.
you probably had your own stuff.
Yes.
So, I'm just gonna say it, I wasn't overly impressed with the company, the person they'd hired.
Yeah.
And it's more of, like a spot check,
Mm.
you know? If I thought I had a problem, I could certainly get rural water here, they'd be more than welcome to come up if I thought I had a problem
Right.
where, a specific spot. I mean, they've done smoke testing for us and stuff, for sewer lines. So I don't know, I just thought I'd touch on it. I have looked at some equipment. It's very expensive, upwards of 20 grand.
Yep.
I guess my question for you would be, with the system that we have 30 miles of roughly of varying sizes
Yeah.
of water pipe. Would it make more sense to own our own equipment? I mean, we'd always have it in the future. We could do the entire city over just spot areas. So I don't know, I'm a little, I don't want to spend money we don't have or don't feel we want to spend it, but
I mean, so the way I would evaluate that, if I was sitting in your chair, I would reach out to, I'm drawing a blank on their name, they used to be Utility Services, you have the contract with your.
well, there's another company I can't think of the name, that Rural Water gave me, it's on my desk.
Yeah, so anyway, the city has a contract for the tank through,
Yeah. Yes, USG, yeah, I know.
yeah, they have a leak detection service.
Mhm.
I think what I would do, I'd get a quote from them and look at what they think it would cost and then look at the cost of the equipment. I think you will find, depending on the urgency, right? Because obviously, like with the meters, you're only gonna be able to do it so often.
Right.
And it's gonna be a lot of, so it's not just the equipment cost, it's gonna be a lot of overtime costs because you're gonna have to do it at night. When everything's quiet.
Not necessarily, because I have the flexibility to alter my guys' shifts. So you could
Oh, I
could
see what you're
certainly
saying.
schedule
So they're not
shifts so
overtime.
that, like flushing, we flush
Gotcha.
twice a year, and they, it's late afternoon into the, up till
Okay.
11 o'clock at midnight.
So for a week, you could do a schedule
Yeah,
shift?
yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
so then that would work, that wouldn't,
Yeah, because
You wouldn't be
that's the
incurring
quietest
overtime
time that
costs.
you'd want to have hardly any flow, yeah.
well, yeah, hardly any flow and no traffic noise.
Great.
So,
I hadn't called that company yet, because I'm kind of guessing that, and I could call them, I could call,
Suez.
Suez too. Yeah, I knew it was gonna pop into your head. My guess would be, you're probably, it's gotta be 15, 20 grand or more anyways to have them contracted, and then at that point, if I
Right,
purchased the equipment, I'd have the equipment for
right. But
10, 20 years.
the scale of economy, right? I mean, if they can have it done, if they could send multiple crews and have the entire city done in 3 nights versus, you know,
Yep.
an extra 15 or 20,000 versus owning the equipment. That's the way I would approach it. I'd get a number. It might make it very obvious that us owning our equipment makes more sense. Or it might be like, boy, one and done and we're out of here, you
Yeah.
know?
Yep. Okay.
But I think the last I knew, Suez had that capability. And considering that we already have a contract with them for other stuff, it might be a little more affordable.
So here's a dumb question. How do you isolate within point A and point B? I mean, if they're coming and they say, oh yeah, you got a leak on Main Street, so.
So you drop the pods on
and
your
then what-
valves
So they keep on going
and
quicker, shorter and shorter?
it correlates and it will tell you
Yeah,
within a
pinpoint
foot
exactly.
of where that leak is.
What if there are multiple leaks?
It'll tell you.
Be a bunch of noise.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
They'll spit out a, never
I
have any
mean,
print
so
out?
if there's a bunch of noise, or if it's having a hard time, occasionally you may have to dig down to the pipe
Yeah,
to get on top of the pipe versus a valve that's, you know, if they say,
yeah,
we got it to
100
then
feet
this,
here.
right,
yeah, okay,
you might have to dig down to the top of the pipe just so you can,
okay, great.
or use the vac truck to suck a hole down to the top of the pipe, just so you can get the sending unit
Onto it.
onto the pipe. But yeah, we had our own, and
Oh, I kinda
they work amazing. Yeah.
So, going back to the question I think that you're asking, John, the question we have to come up with is the one we faced now twice before, right? Which is, can we do a calculation that tells us whether or not we're budgeting, we've budgeted appropriately, and we're gonna make it to the end of the year in the black, or do we have to adjust the rates again?
Right, but we don't need to answer that question necessarily tonight. What we're trying to answer tonight, I think, is the expense budget side of it. And then our best present projection on the income side, and obviously, hopefully, they're close. But in terms of actual rate increases, I mean, it's going to depend on, as we get more and more meters, what's our consumption pattern going to look like for
It's
the
gonna
next
shift
quarter again, and so how are we going to come out for at the end of the year, and what adjustments do we need to make for the coming year in order to meet the income number that we need in order to operate the system.
So could we, could we conceivably go through the budget in terms of the numbers, for instance, sewer department income, and ask our questions about why is this number what it is, or what is this category, and does it make sense? And just go straight through, and then go on to the next subject and the next subject. So it starts at about 1,700 in the budget.
So I agree with that approach. I just have one on this, I guess it'd be the actuals of 1/7. So this past Wednesday. The line item for water meters still shows being overspent by 86,000. Shouldn't that 86,000 been reimbursed to the water fund from the bond bank
Yes,
money?
absolutely.
So this should just show an even 50-50 across?
Correct.
Okay,
Yes. It just hasn't, we haven't done it at this
Okay,
point. But,
all right.
but you're absolutely right.
okay.
this will even out 50/50.
Right.
And then any additional is just gonna,
just-
we'll either take it from the Passumpsic loan, or if it hits fast enough from Vermont Bond Bank, we'll take it from that one.
Because it skews
Yeah,
our
it skews your
expected
number.
actuals for seeing if we're gonna have enough
Yep.
to,
Yep.
for that, it's easy enough to pull out. So,
So what budget do you have up there, Rick?
What I've got here is what's been published yesterday online for discussion tomorrow morning, or Saturday morning, sorry, at the town hall, at the town meeting. And I've scrolled to, as Ann says, it's about line 1740, page 26 of this document.
What are the year-to-date date? on
Yeah, I
that?
was afraid you were going to ask me that. I think I think you raised a question about this. Carrie was not able to try and do a 2,000 line adjustment
Yeah.
to get it up to date. So I think these numbers are almost a month old at this point.
She said they were older than that. She said October 30th probably.
Really? I don't. Okay.
At some point, you know, if
Oh,
we have
so-
monthly printouts, then,
so
yeah.
these right here are actually,
So here's the thing. We can.
That's why I requested this.
Yeah, the one that I sent out included all the zeros. It's about what the
So you're
last time
looking.
I had time to
You
look.
sent one that would be more current because Carrie just printed the one from Nemrick. Is that right?
That's why I asked for the printout.
I
It doesn't
understand.
have it has this year to date. It doesn't have the budget, but at least it gave us the actual year to date. So I guess all we have to do is go through on one of the things, sewer regular pay. This is the collection
Are
regular
you
pay.
looking at the January 7th one, or are you looking at a different one that you got directly from Carrie?
yeah, because you're,
No, I have the January 7th one. That came directly from Carrie.
So-
From the NIMRIC printout.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
so on this one, just for example, sewer department sewer charges
Yep.
is 825,000, and on this is 400,000. So
And the other
it's-
thing is salary and benefits under sewer collection. It is 18,700, and then sewer collection regular pay, which I would imagine is the same thing, is 26,123.
okay, I see.
Which is why I had written in my email was, why is there not the year, it says year to date, but what date have we chosen? Because I realized it was the same as December's.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
And then when I asked Carrie, she said she believed it was sometime the end of October.
Okay. I thought we were
Okay.
near the end of November when we generated that, but I could be wrong. Carrie's certainly much more familiar with it.
She didn't know, but you know, looking at that we have 26,000 compared to 18, it sounds like, yeah.
So, no, I think what we ought to do, I mean, in the document that I have up on the screen, we do have the budget for the year.
Yeah.
So we can take the budget line and then take the lines that you've got, which are the most thorough we've got, and basically represent 6 months of expense.
Yeah, this does have our budget for
Oh, it does have it on
here.
there. I thought you were saying it didn't.
No,
have
it doesn't have the 27 budget.
Oh, okay, which we don't need right now. All we're
Yeah.
really worried about
Yeah,
tonight is.
so it would be carried.
Okay, so I need to get rid of
Well,
this.
But we are trying to look at the 26, 27
I know.
budget, because that's what we're trying to get into the annual report.
Yeah,
Right.
And
Yeah.
what the water commissioners need to approve.
yeah, yeah.
I see, yeah.
So it's the two, but you
But
know,
that
the
column is
actuals
filled
are
out
out here.
in this document that you published to everyone. You've put in.
The 27 year.
27,
The
but
proposed budget is
on
in there.
Yes, correct. That's in this document that we're looking at.
Yeah.
Right.
So for the one that you published for the 8650, 2640, what do you show on yours?
What is it called?
No, the one Rick's got up on the,
What do you-
it's sewer department income. So line 1702.
1702.
And you're asking for what the proposed budget is?
No, I'm asking for what the year-to-date is.
411.
411,000.
Okay, so
That's what
it's the
Jennifer said.
same one that we did.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you had a little more current one,
No.
that's all.
No,
Yeah,
it
the only
is,
difference is the
yeah.
lines that are all zeros is taken out of, are removed from the one on the screen, am I right?
Yes, that's correct.
Compared to the one that
Yeah.
I sent around.
That's right.
Okay.
So this is the
Oh,
thing,
gotcha.
yeah.
Okay.
And I only caught that when I was looking and I said, oh golly gee, you know, and I'm looking and going, wait a minute, there's something really wrong here, so, yeah.
So can I ask you about line 1705, sewer allocation fee? It's down to 0 in the proposed budget. Is there some reason that it should be so low? And in general, what is it and why is it so low?
It's new construction.
And we haven't had it.
Right.
You
You can't predict what you might not get.
Yeah.
The fees aren't some exorbitant amount anyways, really.
Well, they did get $55, so.
And in need a note, well, 1728, ARPA amount, ARPA CSO is 25,000, what is that?
That,
Combined sewer
1728.
overflow.
yeah,
Pardon?
Combined sewer overflow.
yeah.
What does that mean?
It means we have wastewater dumping into our storm sewer and that we are using $25,000 from ARPA to address,
Yeah.
what was that, a study?
We have a $784,000 ARPA CSO grant.
Yeah.
The Bluff Road pump station was done with that, and the siphon in the park sewer is hopefully gonna go to
Still
construction.
coming from that.
Yeah, will be coming from
And,
that.
and that appears under debt service,
Yeah.
too.
Okay,
Well,
Why would
there's
that be?
ARPA funds, which is not it, but the CSO is in there. I can't find it, but I ran into it at one point.
and what about 1730, the wastewater treatment loan proceeds, and then it's called wastewater treatment sinking fund interest, and it's a grand total of $460,000 of income.
So
What is
That's the
that?
wrong line.
Pardon?
Actually, what you're looking at there,
Wrong
Ann,
line?
is,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 460 is the ARPA CSO.
Okay, gotcha.
correct. And Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the money that we're projecting will come in to help us with the Gardner Park siphon project? Do I have that wrong? That 460?
We have, that's about what we have remaining, about
Okay.
$500,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we need to expense it first, but that's
Of course,
what we're
right.
working to. Yeah.
Well, and if you go into the expense side of things, there's the 460 and the 25,000, so that.
Yes, that's how Carrie's tried to do anything
Right.
grant related, is to show the exact same amount on both revenue and expense
Right.
side.
Yeah, which
Does
is why I
that-
said it showed up.
And that
there.
gets
Right.
updated when you like close out a grant for the actuals.
Correct. And she's trying to account for what she knows is gonna be matched, has to be matched versus what's gonna be 100% grant.
How do you track that? Is that a separate line item? Like a match?
Carrie has been working on developing a separate spreadsheet, basically, that,
Because if it's city match, like employees, it's gonna be
There's
buried
no-
in the staff.
correct.
Yeah, there's no match with this. That's gonna be all.
No, I'm just saying in general.
in general,
Oh, I see.
if it's
Okay.
a financial match, then we would have to budget. We're saying going
Yeah,
forward, we're gonna
the
budget
cash
for the
match.
financial match that we're gonna owe. If it's built into Tom's staffing,
In kind.
then it's just gonna disappear
Be
into the,
buried into the, okay.
yeah, that's right.
That
So-
was gonna be on the sub sheet, yeah.
But but each grant where you have to submit documentation for in kind, like there will be
Oh,
documentation somewhere.
Yeah, they're working on the
Oh,
documentation side
yeah.
a lot, because we're just finally getting a handle on the ones we've had.
So, we got ahead of my highlights and my questions.
Sorry.
1702, sewer department sewer charges. So historically, you've got, in 24, you had 1.5, 25, 1.5. Or sorry, 24 actual of 1 million, 25 actual of 1.4. Why are we budgeting that we're gonna bring in 1.6? Where did that number
This-
come from?
Probably the total of expenses.
From Derby?
No, line 1702.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm just, looking
Oh,
at the
right,
historical, it's 300,000 more than what historical has been. And if we don't bring that in, that's an issue.
And
Isn't that what we
that's
projected?
rate increases.
Yeah, isn't that what we
That's-
projected?
That's what they were That's what they're projecting we're gonna collect in rate increases.
Based on what rate?
Based on the ones we did in October.
I would say it's based on the same thing the other one was based on, as you pointed out, which is what the total expenses were, then we plugged in the total income. We needed to offset the expenses. I don't know, but that was what I rashly assumed because I saw that. And the only way they're gonna get it is through user fees. Except our total expenses.
I think that's true, right? I mean, the truth is, at the end of the day, what you've got to do is figure out what your expense budget is and then set your rate to make sure you match it,
Well,
right?
yes, after you've developed.
So don't look at the income because it is a match.
Right, which
That's
you
the
want,
total income, that's
All
the
right,
total
so
expense.
let's rip the expenses apart first. and
Yeah,
then
you
we'll-
got it.
that's the way to do it, I think.
So, for what it's worth, when we look back at our October effective rate increases on income, we're looking at like a sewer annual income of like 1.7. So this might not be the final version that we settled on for the rate adjustments, but it's tracking with that number that you found in terms of our projected 26.
With the 1.6?
Yeah. Where'd that go? 163. From the last iteration, I see 173. So it looks like we might have settled on a slightly lower rate increase than what
So
this.
what are you looking at for
I'm looking at your
spreadsheet?
effective rate increase. And you got your, 27% increase from October, and that's our projected income. So yeah, if you want to pull apart expenses, and we
Yeah.
can move to that if you want.
Yeah. We'll see if that's correct. We probably should, when did I do that?
So let's get to
That is,
expenses.
1016.
You might send it to me because that doesn't
Yeah, the
include the
expenses start
latest
at the
rate
bottom of the
increase.
same page, the revenues on the first two items.
Yeah. So what did I?
Line 1740 is where the sewer
Yeah.
expenses start.
It might be on the second page.
And I assume the increase in line 741 is because we're now including in line 741 not only the salaries of these people, which was all that was included before possibly, but now as well the benefits of Social Security. Or is that just an increase created by an increase in salary?
So, if I understand it correctly, and I may not, I'm far less familiar with this budget than I am with the general fund, which is where my head has been mostly. But I think this line 1741, that's the one you're asking about, right, Ann?
Mm-hmm.
I think that is the new line that Chip has entered to create the transfers between sewer, in this case, and general fund. And so what's happening here is simply that the cost of the 3 employees that Tom has in Public Works who divide up their time, the portion of their time given to sewer are in here.
30%.
The portion of Tom's salary is in here.
No.
Yes, it is. It should be now. We've made that change. All of Tom's salary in this budget has been put in Department of Public Works in the general fund.
Sewer, no, but not in sewer collection.
But
It's
this transfer would be.
This is a transfer, not a salary.
Yeah,
This is sewer paying for a portion of Tom's time.
yeah.
Or was that just, so sewer collection is Tom's time? Tom is not in administration as opposed to,
Well, yeah, there's a sewer administration category.
Yeah, I think Tom is in sewer administration.
Thank you.
Right.
Okay, so then that first one, I think, then would be just the 3.
It's just the
30% of their income.
Roughly 30% of their income, I think, is where we ended
And
up.
there's also
Thank you.
a portion of the guys
Benefits.
the guys at the wastewater plant actually have a portion of their pay that goes to sewer collection because the sewer pump stations are actually part of sewer collection. So.
So how much, what percentage goes?
Didn't you
I
say
mean, only
20?
20%.
We actually, I
I
don't believe that's even in this number, but in the end, if that number comes out higher, that's where their pay's going. If they're working on pump stations, their pay goes into sewer collection and not sewer plant. just to clarify. Because it's part of the collection system, not the actual wastewater plant. But generally speaking, that number is just the 3 guys.
Yeah, because under sewer plant, lines 1772 and 1773 cover presumably the bulk of the pay for those 3 people.
Well, it's actually 4.
It's 4. Those are the people who are full-time in water and sewer,
Yeah,
not in
Full-time
DPW.
sewer, yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
And, yeah, Ann is correct, because sewer administration shows salary and benefits going over to admin
Yeah.
transfer.
Right. And that one, just to be clear, I think, again, somebody catch me if I'm wrong on this, but I think that will include a significant portion of Tom's salary, and then a percentage from city manager, Carrie's position, and the clerk treasurer's office.
In sewer to admin.
I think that's where all of those transfers are taking place.
Let's hope it is, because it's 166.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what's going on there. That's why it's so high.
Yeah. I think that's worth clarifying if we have a chance to go over this again.
It's easy to clarify. I mean,
Yeah.
Carrie can just tell us what the,
Yeah.
in fact, if I had access, if I were better in her spreadsheet, I could probably go to it and she would have
Yeah.
a note right in her spreadsheet
Yeah, I'm
that
sure
tells
she
us
does,
exactly what
yeah.
it is.
Yeah, because the social security and the benefits are actually listed further down in the 1808 to 1817 lines roughly. So that, where it said salary and benefits back at the beginning, that was, it says specifically that's the meter fund transfer line. But the benefits are listed further down, and the distinction is that the benefits pertaining to those positions have been moved into this budget and out of the general fund to the extent that they weren't
Being done before.
being allocated to the actual fund they related to before.
Yep.
Can we go back to 1750 for a minute? I know I'm picking on small numbers, but it's a start. Operating supplies, what are they? They're, whatever they are, the budget for them in 24 was $1,049 was spent. The budget for them in 25, the year 2025 budget was $1,070 was spent. The budget for them in 26 is $1,001 was spent. Why are we still budgeting $1,000 for operating supplies?
Well, we can cut it if we happen to, if we're on a project or on any kind of thing to do with sewer collection, working on sewer pipes or whatever. Yeah, I guess I'd end up having to just put it somewhere else. Operating supplies could mean anything. It could be.
Yeah, but if you're not using it, why we cut 1,000?
Only because I think Tom's trying to be conservative about what might happen.
But he's obviously if he needs supplies, he's putting it somewhere else.
But
If
what
for 24, 25, and 26, it's basically been zero.
Yeah,
So
we
he
have-
has another place that he puts it.
Go ahead, answer.
No, cut it. If I have to overspend somewhere else, I'll overspend somewhere else.
Well,
We haven't done a whole lot of sewer work in the last few years, so, if like this summer, look at the summer, I've done Gardner Park, I did Prouty Beach, I did the Causeway. There was no sewer involved.
What if we just,
Again, we can cut whatever we want here, but if I have supplies I need to buy, I'm gonna put
You're gonna have to buy
put them somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, what if we just cut it in half?
That's fine. We cut it out completely if you want. I'm just saying, if I overspend because we need this.
Because the issue, what I hear you saying, Tom, is that the issue is not that you've been buying supplies, operating supplies, and putting it somewhere else. It's that you haven't had to buy the operating supplies.
Correct.
Because you haven't hit a job that demanded them.
Correct.
Yeah.
And again, we can cut it. I'm just throwing it out there. If we happen to need supplies, I'm gonna have to put it somewhere, and if I overspend somewhere, it is what it is.
And in
So I take exception to that. So we're supposed to be following our budgets, right? And if your budget's hitting its max, you gotta stop spending, or you gotta find another place
So
to
if
get your
I'm,
funds from. You can't just overspend.
so okay, let me throw it in this perspective then, Paul. So, the way the winter's going,
Right.
I've overspent my salt budget, but winter's continuing on. Do I
Yeah.
stop salting and plowing the roads?
No,
That's
you,
good.
you look at the rest of your budget
Oh,
and
I
figure
agree
out
what you're saying.
where
Yeah,
you're going
I'd
to.
have to figure out, is there a way I can cut or
Somewhere else.
Right.
I get that. I'm just
Okay.
saying, if we keep cutting
Okay.
little things like this and in the end, and I'm on a situation where there is nothing left, but I have to continue.
The way
That's
you
what I-
presented it the first
Sorry.
time
Sorry.
was not how I took it.
Okay.
So I understand.
I apologize.
Okay.
My point is, for now, I appreciate the question. I don't think it makes sense at this stage to cut that because we don't know whether or not we're gonna need it next year. And if we cut it and we do need it next year, then we're gonna have to overspend in another category. If we need
But
it,
if you don't cut, if you're here to sort of see if you can bring down overall a 10%, I know water and sewer are slightly.
it's not that I don't understand, Ann. It's that what you're not hearing is that Tom is trying to say something could happen that would require this. And saying nothing will happen is not necessarily being more economically responsible.
Something can happen
Fiscally
with respect to every line of a budget, but the concept of the budget is to try to see where you're gonna need money and where you're not, and if for 3 years you haven't needed money in that area, there's gotta be some place
Okay,
in this.
I don't want to argue a whole lot more about $1,000. We disagree actually
Let
about
me,
that.
let me just throw this out. So I've been planning to rebuild Eastern and Prospect for about 3 years now. I've got the structures, and I'm gonna need more pipes, supplies and whatnot to do that project. They've been put off because we've been doing grant projects for the past 3 years. I can't immerse myself in a project like that. We can cut that, but if I start a project like that, and as Paul said, and I've spent all my money and I haven't finished the project, what do? I don't want to see us. I know it's financially what situation we're in, but I don't want us to nickel and dime us to death. Where now I'm looking at, boy, I just can't swing this project, so I just don't do it.
So
That's
So I have a slightly totally different subject. We've got operating supplies, repair and maintenance supplies, we have materials, we have repair and maintenance. Then we got the same thing for like trucks and small tools. Why do we have so many different categories that are somewhat
well, it's
covering
kind
the same
of funny
thing?
you say that because
Because I'm just thinking how
If you
much
look
time
at-
it takes to code where it really goes.
well, if you look at my Public Works regular general fund now, everything, and we didn't do that here, and I've been meaning to ask Chip, was there a reason for that? Because if you look under Public Works, I had 7 categories: street maintenance, admin, winter, storm, traffic, city property, and everything's lumped into one. So you're gonna look at materials and you're gonna choke and say, $215,000, what's that? That covers my salt, my sand, pipe, everything. He didn't do it here, and I don't know why. But it may be a little, this, I'll be honest, this one's a little bit more confusing to me. If I was to look at my normal one, I could tell you exactly what repair and maintenance was. Because that repair and maintenance might be actually the repair in the ground, doing the repair of the pipe. Or the other one could be parts to a truck or something along that line. There was always, but the way he's gonna, this format is, to me, is a little more confusing than it used to be.
It just seems unnecessarily complicated. I mean, I just said that small tools and equipment, I can understand that. If you have to buy a hammer, that's where they're gonna code it. But, somebody who's sitting there buying Windex, what are you gonna do? Is it cleaning, is it supplies, is it repair and maintenance? It's sort of like, why are we worried about this?
right. This goes back to what I was harping on and will continue, is that hopefully this is the last budget that the city does without a worksheet for each line item. So when Tom is asked a question, he can say, let me pull out the worksheet. Okay, in this line item, I've put a new set of wrenches, a new whatever. When you're looking at a line item and you can't answer what is in it, that's a problem. You should be able to answer for every line item exactly what you put in that line item. And the first time you do it, it's gonna be a monumental task. It is. But after the first year, it's a piece of cake. So, and just so the engineer and me, so $1,000 is 0.05% of the budget.
Right.
So I understand that a lot of thousands add up. But I would say we gotta find a lot of thousands before we, I mean,
We're
cause
making any real progress.
we're making any real progress. I do, so I have a bigger number that I'm concerned with. 1843 CSO materials, there was nothing budgeted. And as of October, we'd already spent $128,000.
But that's money we're getting back.
That's one of the expenses that offsets that.
That's the Bluff
portion.
Road pump station.
So-
What number did you say that pump was, Paul?
It's 1870. I'm sorry, 1844.
1843, because I did not see that on the income side.
That's roughly what that contract was, so,
Are you talking about the 460,000?
no, 128, 235.
So where should I see that on the income side
Well, part of that was.
for the current budget?
Maybe we haven't received it yet?
I don't know.
But it still should have been,
I'm not sure
Right.
if we've received that yet.
but I mean,
I know the
that's,
billing of it went out because the contractor weren't sure of how to bill it. So it got waylaid quite a while. But
We can find out.
I'm pretty positive, Paul, that's the expense of the Bluff Road pump station. That's pretty much what that contract.
okay, because if that is, then there needs to be
Somewhere offset.
an offset on your income side,
Yeah.
because right now there isn't.
Because also not showing up on that budget is CSO engineering. We spent 28,000 to date and 134,000 in CSO materials.
And the engineering.
And it's capital
is-
expenditures.
And the engineering's covered on that too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So this harkens back to the old way they did this, which was they didn't plug the income from the grants into the budget.
Okay.
Yeah. That it just offset. So at this point, we aren't seeing the offset, and because they didn't budget it in there,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
not on the upper end.
What do you mean, the offset? They just took it out at the end, once they got paid?
I think that's how they did it. It was never clear to me, but they never, and they still don't. They don't budget, like, it's not the Stone Garden, there was something else that is not in the budget that is, police department has a number of them.
Well, if that 128, which I'm sure is higher now, plus that engineering, plus that other stuff,
134.
is an expense that the taxpayers aren't paying for, then I would strongly suggest putting a line in on the income side of things for the current budget year, showing,
Yeah, because we got a $784,000 ARPA grant, CSO ARPA grant, and I'm that's where we would start talking about that. It's almost 500,000. That's roughly about what we have left, Paul.
gotcha.
Yeah, it's just that all the lines for, other than the fiscal year 27 proposed are blank for that particular item.
Right.
Yeah.
1728.
Yeah.
Well, there's actually a note, if you go back way to the leftmost column for 1728.5, which says that there are numbers needed. It looks like that's something that was being worked on to come up with.
Oh, do you think that's what those refer to?
Well,
Let's hope.
well,
No, because those are for next year. Those are for next year.
right, but no, if you look at the very left side of those lines, there's a little notation that says need number.
Yeah,
That appears in two places. So
So
that makes me wonder
if they're,
if
need numbers for in
that
here.
was something that,
Yeah,
I can ask,
Carrie
because
was gonna
we
go
may
back
not
to-
have even gotten those funds back yet. I'm
Right,
not
yeah.
100% sure.
it's why I asked for the status of the grant. What was that
But you
one?
know what
Yeah.
you know what you were billed for, so you add those together and that's the money coming back, so.
Right.
That would show us your income.
yeah, and obviously bringing that in on the income side makes the overall balance look a lot better.
It looks a lot better, yeah.
On line 1777 of the sewer plant, under fuel, last year, the amount of fuel that we budgeted for was 36,000. And the actuals this year so far are, the same year, are $3,200.
Keep in mind that that number
Was October.
was late October, early November.
Right.
So it's
yeah.
before the winter started.
Okay.
And our actuals from last year were 28,600.
What was the number on it again?
So we did
I'm talking
reduce,
about
we did
fuel at
reduce it,
1777.
Okay,
reduced it from 36 to 32. Certainly could reduce it a little more, but that's again.
No.
No, I know, that's why, if I reduce it too low, now I've gotta make up somewhere.
Right. What does it say year-to-date, Jennifer, in your,
year-to-date, if I've got the right line, is 6,500.
So it's double what's on this.
Yeah.
Well, I can
do
tell
it-
you
I
with
do
fuel
it
at the
right now.
wastewater plant, Fred's is there probably twice a month or three
Yeah.
times a month this time of year.
right now?
And-
So,
And what we don't know, we know that this is current as of that date, but what warrant is it current through?
That's right, we don't know that either.
Yeah, we don't.
And that makes it even more.
I just signed
complicated.
a bunch new invoices that
Yeah.
are sitting, collecting over the end of the year, so.
Yeah,
And it's propane at the plant, is it?
oil.
Oil?
What else you got, folks?
well, our sludge disposal is running low, which might be good. Where does that mean we're processing less in the sewer treatment plant, which is not good?
Well, it depends where we're at, where we are with the tank.
Yeah,
Operating supplies for the sewer plant, 1788. In '24, the budget said we budgeted 123 and we spent 182. The next year, we budgeted low and we spent 202. This year, we budgeted 180. And so far, we've only spent 59
As of the end of October.
as of the
and
end of
we're
October.
at 96 now.
I'm sorry, we're 96, okay, good.
96, Yeah,
So we're about halfway through the year, right?
So I budgeted 210 because the actuals were 202 and change
Okay,
last year.
Wait, is that chemical?
That's everything. Anything, chemicals, everything that we buy to
I'm
operate the plant.
amazed as I sign piles of invoices at the amount of money we spend on the chemicals for that plant.
yeah, COVID did not help.
Testing or something?
The polymer we use to go for the press to get to
Yeah.
cake it up. And it's
How
just
often do we
everything.
go out to bid for that?
There's only 2 distributors. We actually switched a year ago. I couldn't tell you the company, but there's only 2 distributors for like the alum and stuff.
Down in Connecticut or something, is that right? One of them's coming from,
Yeah,
Should be alum.
but we just switched to one that we were getting cheaper.
Yeah. Do we have a bid process for chemicals and stuff like that?
Not really.
That's something we should consider.
I mean, especially the bigger ones, like you're only coming from 2 distributors. but
Right. Right.
You get pricing from both and.
Right.
see
Yeah,
where
no,
you land.
it's literally more about keeping them honest.
Oh,
You know.
right.
So
there's no like, way to put in a combined bid with Barton and Island Pond and buy more bulk and get a discount.
If they're using the same chemicals, maybe.
Yeah.
They have different processes for their treatment, so they may not even be using the same stuff we are. And I hate to say it, but communities don't, no.
Communicate.
We certainly don't communicate with the village, so
Everybody works in their own silo.
yeah.
I know, it's,
You know.
But, you know, I mean, this is just a global observation. The more I've learned this year, the more convinced I am that this is actually going to be the way of the future. We're going to have to start cooperating regionally
Right.
in a whole bunch of ways that we're not currently doing it, or costs are just going to keep skyrocketing.
1887, Tom. It was in for 25, and then it looks like this year you spent 25, and next year it's going in for 0. What is 2001 sewer preen 2010 for?
Principle.
That's a loan.
Yeah.
That's a loan?
That's a loan.
So,
Yep.
so is it like
2000
all paid back now? So it's,
Gary's got that list.
That's what I would assume.
Generated a
Carrie has
list.
generated a full list of all outstanding
okay.
debt
Yep.
that we can track that with.
Gateway Pump Station is the next one down, so.
Because there's
2001, I'd have to guess that was Lakemont,
okay.
thinking back.
So that's all
then we
loan
did-
principal and,
Yeah, and then we did, after that, we did the Indian Head Pump Station, so that, it's one of those two.
okay.
Yeah. It's,
If it were a 25-year loan, that would make sense, final
Yeah.
payment.
yeah,
Okay.
because the interest on that, year to date it's been $200. So it's down, and they budgeted the interest at, just 2,000, so.
Going back to line 1794, those salaries that are coming in from elsewhere, and maybe partially from Tom. It says up at the top that it's salary and benefits, and that's about 163,000. It would be nice to see some sort of a breakdown of how that money looks as it comes across, just not the total salaries, but a breakdown. Because the other thing is, if that includes benefits, why do we have benefits again? Are we duplicating them in line 1808 through 1817?
That's an interfund transfer line again.
I'm sorry?
That's another interfund transfer line where
1794 is in.
1794 is is salaries and benefits coming from somewhere else.
It
But
would
then
be,
personnel expenses, usually, it used to be the personnel expenses of the people who were in the admin line.
yeah.
I
So
don't
Ann
want
is
us to
correct,
double.
we need the breakdown.
We can
of
get that.
who's
Carrie's
there.
got it at her
Yeah,
fingertips.
Yeah, so I think it's.
So that we
next
don't
meeting.
double
Yeah.
charge for benefits.
Yeah,
It's line 1794. Yeah, so-
1794, what's
For
included
interfund.
in there, and then 1808 and 8 through 1817. Does it duplicate that, or is it somebody else's?
No, I think it's somebody else's. I mean, Carrie's been watching this pretty
Yeah.
closely, but we can check
I
it.
think that potentially the answer is the category is existing sewer plant salaries, and then the
Exactly.
interdepartmental transfers, but we need the clarification. I mean, that's what I assumed when I looked at it, but assumptions are not very good.
And I think the sewer plant may have its own, if I go back. Maybe not. You may be right.
No, I think that's right. I think
Yeah.
based on conversations I've had with Carrie, I think what's going on there is there are 4 staff, and those benefits are related to those 4 staff. And all of the benefits are included in, for partial staff, are included in the transfer.
So, on the sewer side of things, we are looking at a budget increase of 14.5%. Where is that 14.5%? Is that all salaries?
So the budget, just so you know, the budget has accounted for a 3% increase across the board general fund, sewer fund, and water fund increase in salary. That's of course before we negotiate new contracts for the unions, and there's no way to really know how that's gonna play out.
I hope you have a good negotiator.
I hope so too.
I think
So that's,
in the debt
with one exception, well, two exceptions that I can't be specific about, but I'll just tell you that there are some merit increases that we did in order to make sure that our payment, our salaries are competitive enough to hold on to key employees that the council.
Bargaining or non-bargaining?
Non-bargaining. So the council just made decisions about that in the last week or two.
Okay.
Now, you may have covered this already, but I may have passed me by. Line 1843 has, which is CSO materials, it has actually spent in 2026, 128,000.
Yeah, this is the one we were just talking about. We just had a long conversation.
And where that's, everybody was cool
So
with
that's the
that.
one where we say, Tom's saying he thinks that's grant, or that's,
That was the Bluff Road pump station work, so that's part of the ARPA grant.
And
So we'll
did
have
we
an
have
expense coming
did we
in.
have an income on that?
we don't see it
We
yet,
don't
so
see
we've
it.
gotta find out if it's been billed. I don't know.
Because otherwise we're gonna be billing our water and sewer customers for something that's
Understood.
being paid for.
Understood.
Okay.
This is strictly under sewer though.
No, and the
And so to
reason,
finish answering your question, sorry, Paul. I don't know for sure, but if I had to guess, I'd guess that some portion of that increase is in those administrative transfers.
yeah.
You know, so just to
Alright.
give an example of that, I always get it mixed up. Which one is clerk treasurer's office allowed to be billed to? It's
Just sewer.
just
Just
sewer.
sewer.
So we have 25% of the cost of the 3 salaries in the clerk treasurer's office being billed to that interfund transfer in the sewer department.
Yeah.
And if the new charter goes through, we will have a similar percentage for those 3 salaries in the water portion. It's not
Yeah.
currently there, but that will raise the water budget
Yeah.
if that charter passes. And then in addition to that, now I'm trying to think, Tom, I think we ended up at,
Well, there were benefits that were moved over too, which
Right.
are part of that.
that's right, because benefits hadn't been counted
And
before.
then if you're just looking at the year-over-year expense increase, the other part of it are some of those capital projects that are being paid for from the grant.
Yes.
And if you back those out, that accounts for some of the increase.
Yeah.
And then you've got the sewer loan,
Yeah,
That's exactly right. That's the biggest one. Thank you.
6842,
we kinda
and
talked
you've
about that in our
got,
other
the
meeting.
biggest is for a line item is capital reserve at 128.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking, so 14.5% is
Where are you getting?
263,000.
Where are you getting 14.5%? Because I see 30%.
Because you have to back out the
The 128.
485.
Oh, the 40.
Where are you seeing 45?
The
460 plus 25. is that-
460 plus 25, that the.
That were offset by grant
funds.
income.
So you pull that out of the 2.477.
You have to pull that out of, right.
Okay, so,
Right.
okay. So
But-
you're talking about 2 million instead of 2.47. Okay.
And Jennifer's also right that what we're also absorbing this year is the first year of payments on principal and interest
Right.
for the $1 million 10-year note.
Yeah, no, it doesn't take long to get to that
870,000.
200 and whatever thousand. Yeah. No, I just wanted to point out
No, that's
because,
right.
Yeah,
you know,
it's significant.
right.
With regard to the capital reserve, by the way, I did pass up something about that. We budgeted for last year 128,000, which was 5%. But in order to do that, we promised that we would set up a reserve fund. And the reserve fund has to be approved if you look at the materials that I gave Patrick and Jennifer and the rest of you tonight, has to be approved by the citizens. So I would suggest instead of having another election before the end of the year, that there be a warning on the March 1st election that says that we're setting up this capital reserve that we must put the 5% into, and that in addition, the provisions say you have to explain what the reserve is for. So I don't know whether it can just simply say capital expenditures, or you have to say it's for water meters, or you have to say it's for whatever the capital expenditure that you're putting the money away for. And if you're not going to set up that capital reserve fund, I think you have no right to charge the citizens for another round of it in the next budget.
So I've heard you suggest that, and just so you know, I've asked Chip to try and give us some feedback about his suggestion about how to handle it. I haven't had any conversation with the attorneys about the interpretation of whether or not it's got to be done by vote. So
It says.
I've lifted up the question to the appropriate people to get an
Okay,
answer.
it says so in the definition for how to set up the fund. And in addition, I think what is important for me in this is it says that when you want to take money out of that fund, if for some reason you want to take it out for some other reason, you've got to go back to the voters and get permission to take it out for some other reason. And I like that because, as a citizen, I like that because there is some control finally on money that's put in the reserve. It can't simply be taken out willy-nilly. It's got to be used for what you say. And we've got an accounting of where the money went. You want to take 5% from us, you got to account for it.
Well, I can speak to that a little bit, because this is the first time somebody's asked the question about the capital reserve, even on the general fund. Since everything's been lumped together, nobody knows what it is that we actually put in there that amounts to that $128,000, which kind of confused me a little bit, but I can tell you what that is. And under my 5-year capital plan, 18,000 of that is a pickup. We've been down a pickup for over a year. That would be split 3 ways between public works, water, and sewer, because that's what you use for.
It's got to be specified.
But I'm just trying to explain what that 28,000 is.
Yeah, the reason I've asked for clarification from the attorneys is to learn how much specificity there needs to be. Because my assessment would be, without having attorneys backing me up, that if it's a capital reserve fund for capital expenditures that we've budgeted for in the sewer fund, then it's an appropriate way to spend that money. Whether it's on a pickup truck, or doing something to the well redevelopment, or whatever it might be, any of those reasons could be used.
Yeah,
that's exactly why I've gone back to the
That's
attorneys to ask for clarification.
So we do have capital expenditures in the budget. Line 2009 starts. I don't understand why we have labor in capital expenditures.
That we're on the water side there.
I'm sorry, I don't have.
Right, on the water side, sorry.
Okay.
I was, let me go back to sewer. So on the sewer side, do we have it?
Sewer side starts at 1836, I think, yeah, 1836. Would that include, 1836 to 1843 in the upcoming budget, that's zeros. And then, keeping going here, the ARPA CSO for 460 on line 1843.5 that we'd already talked about is
The grant.
is the capital item in
So
the upcoming. And
Under-
that's the one that's offset by the grant, so it wouldn't fall under that 5% anyway.
Right.
where, Tom, there is a vehicle under capital expenditures,
Zero.
but it's zero.
Yeah.
And I don't see
And the capital reserve fund doesn't have to be for just this year.
No, exactly,
Right.
exactly.
No,
and
but
that's
just to be
why
And we're
clear,
not-
for the next several years, my guess is it's gonna get fully expended because we've gutted all of our sinking funds in the last 9 months in an effort to keep ourselves fiscally
Yeah,
solvent.
but I would assume that you would ostensibly put the 5% in, once you have established the fund, you put the 5% in.
In the fund.
As a bookkeeping
And then you do
event,
your
and then you
capital
would-
expenditures
you would
out of it. That's exactly
Point out
right.
what you took out.
That is exactly the way it's gonna work. Yes.
So where is,
You don't have a copy of that capital plan that Carrie did, do you?
I have mine.
Well, I think that's what he's asking about, actually, so that might help.
so where is the 5%?
That's it.
There should be a line item for it.
It is
There's a line
at the
there.
very end.
Very end.
1901.
Of sewer.
1901.
Just before water,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
there's the 5%.
They're both,
1901.
they're both 128,000 for water and for sewer.
Actually, is that right? It was supposed to be 5% of how much each of them were.
Up to
Maybe-
5%, right?
Well,
Yeah, we said, we budgeted for a 5% capital expenditure this year.
5% of how much water was and 5% of how much sewer was, which is different. I think we may have budgeted wrong originally, right? Because the amount of water, of the water budget is different from the amount of the sewer budget in total, and it's
It would just be
5%.
5% each, I think.
But the
5%
amount-
of each budget.
Yes, but they couldn't possibly be exactly equal. 5% of the
Oh, I
water
see. I
budget
see what
couldn't be
you're saying.
128 and 5% of the sewer budget. So last year, we may have done it erroneously, but we were
Or
allowed
what
any
may be going
percentage.
on here, Ann, is that the calculation is not based on the 5% in this budget. I'm not positive of this, but I think it may be true that what Carrie did was she took the capital expenditure plan and just added up the things that we've said we need to do and that we have to do next year. And I don't know exactly how that correlates. I don't know if it's a little more or a little less than the 5%.
I think the 128 existed before,
The 128 is in the
from the
proposed
beginning,
budget.
from the
This
budget.
year's
It's-
budget is different figures.
Is
for-
82,000.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, the 128's in the, yeah, the proposed.
Correct, because line 2057 shows this year's capital reserve in the water budget as being 54,000
Yep.
change. And then the sewer budget, this year's is 82,000 and change on line 1901.
Okay, so that seems correct to me, and I think that you cannot claim that 128,000 is a 5% capital reserve. If we want.
It is for the it is for sewer, you're right, it's not for water. It is about 5% of the sewer's overall 2.47 million.
Yeah.
Okay, but what I'm saying is, if you want to have a bigger reserve next year for each of those, you're going to have to claim a different percentage of capital reserve. You're allowed to claim, we said up to
Up to
15%, but the two should correlate.
So are you suggesting that we change the water from 5% capital reserve to whatever the actual percentage value is?
For next year.
Or do we change the actual dollar
It
number?
depends upon whether or not you want a bigger capital reserve or not, and whether or not you're willing to put that money into the reserve fund with the restrictions that it has, that it only be spent on the things that you say it can be spent
Capital
on.
expenditures.
But we first of all need to find out, because Ann pointed out that if you say you're going to put 5%, you have to put 5% in. So I don't know whether we want to we could use that as a plug number. And I got no problem with using 128 as a plug number or something as a plug number. But then we've got to figure out what we really want to commit to.
Well, so just to be clear, what we committed to for this current year
Is 5%.
was 5%. So that means that according to this budget, we have to put aside 5%.
Yeah.
Now, we may expend all of that and more on capital expenditures this year, but we were saying we wanted a minimum of 5% of those
And-
budgets to go in there.
And you can't claim that our sewer budget is $2.5 million, because that's truly a false number. It's 2.5 million minus $485,000 because of the art money, right? I mean, but to what Ann's saying, I mean, I appreciate what you're saying about putting in what we think we need, but I'm sitting here as a ratepayer, and I mean, I don't want to see, okay, let's put in our maximum amount so we can buy the biggest number of toys possible, right?
Absolutely.
Neither
I
does
mean-
Ann.
Agreed.
Neither does Ann, I guarantee it.
Right, right. So-
The other thing is that if you really look at what the responsibilities of the water commissioners are, I don't know that there's any other way of setting up capital reserves other than the capital reserve that the state has suggested. I mean, for years, we've just had a Vector fund, a this fund, a that fund. But I don't, the only things that the state seems to suggest in that, you can have an operating budget, you can collect monies from the citizens for that, and you can have this special capital reserve fund, and you can put up to 15% in it. But that's the only capital fund. Or you can have many of them. You could have a Vector fund and this fund, but they would all be separate funds that were set up this way, from which you could withdraw money. Those are the only things under the state statute that seem to me to be allowable. So it's a maximum of 15%, no matter how, if you want to set up 10 funds, they can only add up to 15%.
Right, you're not allowed to charge more than 15% of the overall budget to the ratepayers.
Well, what the wording actually says is perhaps a little more subtle than that. What it says is a surcharge of up to 15% on the costs of normal operations, maintenance, and debt service. So the way that I read that is that the maximum you can put in is 15% of whatever those three items add up to.
Right,
Which
agreed.
does not include grant funding.
Which is why Paul wants to back it out.
Right.
Is that the only grant fund item that we have to
Yes.
back out?
Yeah, but you don't necessarily,
It can't
be on
salaries.
yeah, you don't,
Can it?
normal
It's
operations.
operational,
yeah,
yeah.
this would
Yeah.
include salaries.
Yes, it would, yeah.
So, but it doesn't necessarily have to be expressed as a percentage every year, as long as you stay under that.
That's what I'm wondering, like.
Yeah, you could say, yeah, we're gonna put $100,000 in this
Sure.
year, and as long as you're under the
Under
50%,
50%,
you're fine.
So the way we're at now, it's like more like 6.5% for sewer and 10 for water. And that, I did not subtract any water grants, so if there's water grants that's supposed to come out as 1.2 million, then it's gonna be a slightly higher percentage.
Right, so in some ways, I think what that suggests to me is that we're not really worried, as long as we're under that 15%, we don't
Right.
care what the percentage is.
Right.
What we're saying is, what are the capital expenditures that we have to prepare
Well,
for?
we have to care that it's over 5, because we said we're gonna do 5.
Only for this year.
Sure, but
the current
that's what
budget.
we're talking about. That's-
Well, no, we're also talking about next year. We're talking about the budget for next year
Right,
too,
right.
right?
But then
So
you
what I'm
can-
saying is, for this year, you're absolutely right. We have to make sure that it's a minimum of 5%, because that's what we do.
Well, not to exceed 5%, it needs to be 5%, period,
Right.
because we expressed it as a percentage, not a
Correct.
dollar amount.
But what I'm saying is, as we look at next year's budget, doing it by percentage actually, I think, is just confusing the situation.
So-
Because if we have a good capital plan in place, we should know exactly what we want to put in there. And as long as it's not more than 15%, it's appropriate.
Right.
But then you can't call it the 5% capital reserve.
We-
Right.
Well,
We understand.
We will call it, we will call
Call it
it.
capital reserve.
Yeah.
It's just a clerical.
Yeah.
So it's a
Yeah.
clerical
Well, no,
fix.
that's
You
what we
literally
called
take
it, so
the
that's how it
5%
got
out
in
of that
That's what I'm
line.
saying, like,
Yeah, yeah.
What I find strange is that coincidentally, the capital reserve that's required for water is the same as the
a capital reserve required for sewer.
I've
you would
noted
think
your
they would
question.
have different demands.
Yeah.
You do.
Except I think the way those numbers happened in is Carrie worked with Tom to create the capital plan, and then we tried to pare it down as much as we could and do the stuff that we were really desperate for. And I think what happened was it came out to $296,000 or whatever that is, and they just divided it in half.
You can't do that though, because.
No,
They
but
can as long as it's more than 5%.
No, there's something else that operates. The water, money taken in for water
Yep.
can only be used for water things. And money taken in for sewer can only be used
Right.
for sewer things. And so you can't just split up.
Well, we often have
Excuse
split.
me, can I jump in and
Please.
say, probably Carrie did the simple thing in the budget procedure. She divided the figure in half. Not knowing.
Let me finish when I originally started, when
Okay,
Ann
okay.
first started to talk about the 128,000. So I did a 5-year capital plan,
Right.
which included paving, equipment, everything. Within that, so the monies that match up to the 128 in sewer and the 128 in water is coming from a pickup, a new pickup that will be split between water,
50-50.
sewer, and public works.
And that's
They're
36
used-
grand total.
So that's 30, that's 18 each. The vac truck, it was talked about with the vac truck, they took all the money, so we were gonna put 80,000 in the water and the sewer, that's part of that 128, and then the 30,000 remaining is the road construction for materials for Prospect and Eastern, 30,000 in water and 30,000 in sewer.
30,000 for water and sewer for road what?
For Prospect and Eastern to rebuild the road, we're gonna replace the sewer main and
Okay.
replace water stuff.
So there is logic to an even.
Well, it wasn't, yeah, so that's why it's an even number.
Yeah.
So when you say that though, you expect to expend all of that money in 1 year?
Yes.
Well,
When the
no,
project
let's
happens.
back up. So yes, the truck, we've been down a truck for over a year. Yeah, the truck, I'd like to expend the 18 in each, plus in Public Works, which is budgeted in my general fund, capital funds. And the road construction. The vac truck, that money's gonna sit there, because that truck, we're talking $600,000-700,000. So hopes to get that reserve back to buy that truck,
Should that be?
however
split
long down
across
the road.
The 3 departments though?
What's that?
The back truck?
It will.
It is.
It is.
Oh, I thought you
It is.
He's
said
got it
just
in-
water.
I've
and
got it
sewer.
in there, Paul.
He's got it in all
okay.
three.
No,
Okay.
I've got it in. I mean, it's more heavily used probably in sewer and water excavation, but we certainly use it for stormwater and pipes, and so yes,
Right.
it's gonna get split a certain
Three-
amount,
okay.
all 3 ways.
So I think the fix simply is to take the 2 words 5% out of the
Yeah.
descriptors on those lines,
Right.
and that takes care of it. And as long as the.
For the 27, for
Right.
26, 27.
Correct.
Right.
I agree.
And then for the current budget, we have to make sure that we don't go over the 5%.
Right.
So you're saying through the end of, wait.
Till
isn't
June
20
30th,
isn't that
25,
fiscal-
26.
Okay,
Fiscal year 27 is the one that begins in July.
yes, okay.
So I hope
So
that,
don't
Yeah, I think it clarifies it a lot.
How can you
And
figure
again,
5%
And Ann's point is actually
when you
well
have to
taken at that point,
withdraw
because
dollars?
the whole point is, if we put money in there for the Vector truck, it's gotta be there 3 years from now when we wanna
Right.
buy the Vector truck.
And
That's
that's
what
what
we got
Tom
into
wants it
trouble.
in there
Yeah.
for.
Exactly.
Unless you get an emergency situation and you want to the citizens to agree that you must use it for something else.
Outside of capital
Yeah.
expense, just to be clear.
Right.
We don't have to use it for the Vector truck if it's a capital expense. Like Tom and the city manager and maybe the council, I don't know how that decision would get made exactly, might say, oh my God, actually the big huge dump truck went first, or the grader went first, we're gonna have to do that this year. And instead bump the plan for the grader that we were gonna do next year to this year and bump the Vector truck out one more year.
So-
Those decisions, as long as they're capital, can
As
be made
long
by.
as they allow you to just call it capital expenditures. If they only
Yes,
allow
that's
you to
right.
say vector, a vector, da-da-da-da.
So-
and as long as they are used by the sewer and water.
Correct,
So the way we did it,
yeah.
you contributed every year to your capital reserve fund. Now granted, we didn't have multiple departments, I mean, we were just water.
Right.
But you had I'm drawing a blank. The chart, is it a Gantt chart?
Yeah.
You had a Gantt chart, and for every year, it would show how much you're putting in until you hit the money you needed. So it would show the vac truck, the plan was to purchase it in 28, okay? Building a new water tank and 30 and so on. But it showed how your funds were building, and it allowed you to take, okay, we're gonna be able to get by another year, but the backhoe just blew up. We're moving this up here, we're bumping this down here. We're gonna push the back truck out another year, but we're bringing this forward. And then it would show what your balance was. It wasn't smoke and mirrors, it's all laid out in front of you.
That actually sounds like a really cool system.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
it's a problem that we had because up until then, we just had smoke and mirrors. You could take the money out of any of the
Right.
funds to pay anybody.
And that's what a capital reserve, capital
That's not
expenditure
necessarily
plan.
true either though, because if, every year we did our 5-year capital plan. Granted, the one we've come up with now with the spreadsheet, to me, is not confusing. It's not as, for me, not as transparent. If I looked at my Word document and I'd have each year, what truck, the VIN of the truck and everything
Yep.
broke out. Here's half that truck. Next year I got half that truck, I'm buying that truck. And I still do it that way, because to me, that's my go-to playbook.
Right,
Say,
but
these are my funds.
Right, but this is something that should be presented to everybody.
Well, the capital plan is a public
Right,
document.
and just as an aside, projecting out 5 years is not far enough. You've gotta go out 10 years, you've gotta start
Well, we've been working,
forecasting.
just so you know, the banks have required a 10-year projection.
Yeah,
And while it's an inexact science,
it is,
we've tried, at least in our 10-year projections for the bank, to say, okay, here's the big stuff that we can see coming that's gonna hit us, and this is our best guess.
and that's what, I mean.
That's what it's about.
Yep.
Okay,
I took us down a rabbit hole, I'm sorry.
well, it was a worthwhile rabbit hole, because I think the way the language has been unclear, and therefore it confuses the process.
Well, I can remember when I was on the Derby Planning Commission in the 90s, there was discussion of capital plans back then, and a lot of towns didn't even have capital plans. And the state was pushing planning commissions in that era to push their select boards to create capital plans. But yeah, they weren't very common at all, except in larger communities. And even some larger communities didn't have them. It was all seated plans.
I mean, you could certainly push it out 10 years. It's just been the norm for all the years that I've been here to do a 5-year capital plan. And that's always evolving. That could change from year to year,
Yeah.
depending on
Right.
what blew up or what road fell apart or,
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is it's a comfort level. It shows the people that are working for them are thinking ahead,
Yep.
Okay, 1911. Water department rent, that's going up, $40,000. What's in that line item and why is it going up?
This is income, water department rent.
Yeah,
Do you know, Tom, what the explanation is for
What
that?
is rent?
1911?
Yeah, what is
Rent
rent?
is our rate.
1911.
That's the water charges.
Yeah.
It's called
Yeah.
rent in the state statute,
Yeah.
which is bizarre.
So at this point.
Oh, that's why.
At this point.
It's just the income, the water.
Yeah, it's the income, department
It's
income, it's the rate.
$1,194,000.
so
At this
it's,
point, it is almost 700,000. They've taken in 59% of
Okay.
the water department's rate to date for this year.
okay.
I have questions. We're getting back into expenses, so I apologize, but 1903 and 2059 depreciation, I don't quite understand these numbers. I don't understand why they're missing from fiscal year 26 and why they're so low in 27.
You said 1903?
Yeah, in 2059, different departments. So someone please explain to me how depreciation of the water system and sewer system work, and then why there's an entire year of missing values and why there's nothing in
They
27.
haven't posted them yet. They traditionally don't post them in the budget, which is the
They're posted
interesting
at the end
thing.
of the year.
Yeah,
And how is that number determined?
it's determined on the value of the equipment less the accumulated depreciation.
Okay.
So our equipment that we have must be getting really old. There's a whole depreciation schedule in the city report.
Okay. And so
I'm glad you mentioned that though, because, you know, that $486,000, that comes from a number that's calculated when our financial statements go to the auditors.
Auditors, yeah.
And they're the ones who are interested in depreciation. Traditionally, our budgets have never, ever included depreciation. And I've read a number of things on the computer with regard to that, because my initial statement was depreciation is not a cash item, so therefore it doesn't belong in the budget. And that was, I go on the computer and I read that statement a lot, and then I go on the computer and sometimes it says, well, depreciation can be included. And then I go and I look at Vermont Towns and Legals or whatever, and they seem to be putting it only in the financial statements and saying that the way you deal with that is the capital fund that we've just set up. You know, that it takes care of depreciation. And the thing is, you don't want to be counting it twice. You don't want to be putting it in the capital reserve and then also charging us again as a depreciation. I mean, nobody ever comes along in life and makes a, what do you call them, warrants or a bill for depreciation, and you'd be able to take it out of, you know. So really, the budget deals with people, you know, billing you for certain cash items.
And that's,
And what I'm thinking, when I thought about it, and because I was really upset by it to begin with, what we're really saying here is we recognize that items that we have, cars and trucks and other things, depreciate, and buildings, the sewer plant depreciates over time and is not worth what it was to begin with. And it is going to cost us money to make the sewer plant better and buy the new truck and buy the Vector machine. But we put that in as a capital, into capital reserves to take care of it. We don't both itemize it as depreciation, which we've never done in any of our budgets, and also put it in capital reserves and then take a loan on it and pay interest on it, and it duplicates it or triplicates the same effect. So I'm only asking you not to put in depreciation as an item. I don't know if you did it. Yeah, you did put in $114,000 this year. If you feel that you're going to need $114,000 more or something, put it into the capital reserve fund. Don't create this thing where you've got a non-cash item in a budget. But think about
That's
it.
the clearest explanation I've ever heard you give for that, because I've heard you argue this point numerous times, and I think different organizations I've worked for have handled this differently. I think you're absolutely right. And I have found it confusing. It seems to me that depreciation is actually primarily an issue of a balance sheet, right?
That's
What
it.
you're doing is saying your assets are depleting.
right,
Right?
Right.
As they depreciate over time. And that's where it should be counted. And you're absolutely right. As what I got into arguments about when I worked for the National Presbyterian Church is that they would actually charge me as a matter of the budget for my depreciation, and then they would charge me whenever I wanted to buy something new. They did both. And I think that's exactly the point you're making. And it was maddening. It was, according to them, generally accepted accounting practice,
It's
but
a scam. That's a scam.
But I said it vociferously the other night about it's a non-cash item, it doesn't belong in the budget. But I will tell you that there are some things floating around out there on the computer that seem to say that somebody's using depreciation in that way. But when they use it that way, I'll bet you they're not putting it into the capital reserve, possibly.
Right. You shouldn't really have both. You shouldn't have depreciation and also putting money in the capital reserve, because your capital reserve is offsetting your depreciation.
It's a replacement fund.
Yes.
It's a replacement
It's a
fund,
replacement fund. It's just like
or a maintenance fund.
And you
Our
gotta
long-term
realize,
our NRL.
So I
What
would,
he's doing
Hold on,
right
right here,
now is it's not budgeted. And I think this is the whole thing, that Chip created this and it's in the budget because he pulled the audit report.
right.
And then you see it missing in this year because it's not budgeted. It's a mistake, it's in.
But it is
Next one.
budgeted in the 27, which
and
I
we-
think it
we
should
need-
go
yeah,
out.
And I flag that as a potential problem.
Yeah.
But I think, why is it down? Because what we've got is, it was 400 and say 300, or, whatever, 300, now it's 100 and something. So it would make the sense as opposed to the
Yeah,
drop.
that's definitely
in
worth
one.
looking into.
And this is what I think transpired. But this is cash and accrual. I think what we have here is from the accrual.
Yes, I think
Yeah.
those numbers, those 486 probably
Yeah, and
came
that's-
right out
that-
of the
yeah.
financial statements.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've noted that series of convictions and questions, and when Chip's back in the office after the 11th, we'll have a
Let him
conversation.
convince you.
Well, I don't know who. That's pretty funny, actually, because my whole point is I want to hear what the rationale is, right?
Yeah.
And maybe he will convince me. I'm certainly not an expert in this, so let's find out. But I think you're right. You can't, if you're doing one, you can't do the other. And my point is, I don't think it's a budget issue. I think it's a balance sheet issue. But let's hear what Chip has to say about it.
and the question to ask Chip is, what are the implications of either version for those who are paying the bills?
Correct. That's right. Okay.
So I'm
So
glad you raised that, Patrick.
Yeah, I still don't quite understand depreciation, so, but that pre-exists this meeting.
just,
It means you don't have to pay as much taxes as.
I get it in principle, but I don't understand how it, like, 'cause when I file depreciation for my business taxes, it gives me a break, right?
Yeah.
City's not paying federal income taxes.
That's
So-
right.
So what the fuck does this really do for the city, other than just help us track what we need for capital reserve?
That's
and all?
exactly what it does.
but,
So then that's why I'm asking, why is it on the sheet? And so that's,
right.
Well-
Because- So, with it on the sheet, our budget increase is 14.5%. With it off the sheet, our budget increase is 9%.
Yeah.
What looks better to the ratepayers?
yeah.
Right,
Okay, let's ask the
See
question.
what Chip
and
says.
it's real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Just look.
we'll probably end up in a meeting together with Chip where you can help us articulate the question as well as you just did, because I thought that was a very clear explication.
Sometimes it happens.
Yeah, I think, right, it may have been accidental, but you did it really well, so. Okay, what else you got, y'all? I'm looking at the clock and I'm
Yeah.
fading here. And I have one other topic, which is process. Of course, I always want to come back to process and how we're going to get to the end of January with the right answers to the
We
questions.
haven't even gotten to the water department yet.
We dabbled.
So,
No, let's
We
go.
dripped in.
the
Oh, I've got one.
1949 in the water. We've got it in there for 30,000. Last year we spent 2,700. The year before that we spent 55. What's in there? Is 30,000 enough or too much?
Is that like a main
Not enough?
first or something?
Yeah, that's what I.
That's under water treatment and pumping. So
Yeah.
that's the arsenic plant and the processing part of it. Is that the right number? What was the number?
1949.
1949.
Yeah, that's underwater treatment. So water distribution is stuff in the roads, anything out in the infrastructure in the streets. So 1949 is
Repair and maintenance.
the arsenic plant, the booster station, the water tower, anything to do with treatment and pumping. And again, something breaks, it's a big expense. Actually, you know, that you say that, so the 55,000, we've only spent 1773.
Yeah.
That's gonna be a godsend for me right now because of the weld redevelopment. And I was telling Rick about it.
Yeah.
If nothing else major happens, you know,
You can
we
use
sign
that
that
money.
contract for 66 or 68,000, and we're gonna be twice that.
Right.
So that's
Because
gonna.
we had to do both wells instead of one well this year.
You know, we had issues on both of them. Not as serious on the second one, but I mean,
Still had to be redone.
so again, you can put a number in, we can reduce it, but then if I have a serious issue,
You're gonna have to cut somewhere else.
Right.
what if there's no place to cut?
Yeah.
That's where I get nervous.
Yeah, turn the water off every Tuesday from 9 AM to 12 AM.
No, but, and I'm not saying cut it, I'm asking, you know,
Yeah, no,
one year you're at 55 and the next year you're at 20, so without knowing what's in there, you know,
Again, it's,
I mean, do you remember what like the 55 was? Cause you had budgeted 35 but spent
That would be impressive
55.
if you did.
as far as what repairs we're gonna be doing,
Right,
Yeah, back in fiscal year '24, that 1949 line item was budgeted at 35 and 148 was spent.
right.
you know, I can say,
I mean,
I'm
is
trying
that-
to think back on the year, but I know it might be 24, might even been 23, but, you know, we had to replace the entire, I don't know what you call it, the motherboard at the arsenic plant, and that was 50 some odd $1,000.
Yeah.
I mean, so, you know,
So that's
you know,
we've got just,
we got the media and the vessels down there,
Yeah.
the replacement of that, again,
alright. So it's everything
that covers everything.
in the plan, so.
Or like force main pumps, right?
Right.
Or
No, this is just the water. This is
sorry, not
just,
force main, but like pumps
oh, yeah,
to
yeah.
get up to the water tower.
Yeah, we're
Or
talking
to-
the two wells, we're talking the arsenic plant itself, we're talking their booster station, so
Yeah,
yeah, it's
booster
all
station.
encompassed in that.
Okay.
And is that preventative maintenance also, or is that emergency maintenance?
Both.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, it's kind of a hard distinction. Right? It's like, it's preventative until it happens too fast.
Right.
So, but compared to like the one right above 1948 repair parts, so that's, you know, repair and maintenance is labor or contracted services or
Generally, yeah.
just okay. So is there a benefit to breaking parts versus?
No, and you know, and again, I said this on the sewer side. This is the sewer and water. Chip hasn't lumped us all together.
Right.
It's still kind of broke out.
Okay.
Whereas you know the general fund, everything's all in just one item now. But yeah, that you know, with the bigger dollar ones, usually we're getting assistance.
Okay.
Can I get back to pay and actually in sewer? This question wasn't answered last year, and I don't see it in the new budgets because things have been lumped. So for years, under the sewer plant, there was other pay. So in 2022, so it's not on anything you've gotten
So
before you.
all the pay has been lumped together. So
Yeah, I know, but now
So-
I want to know when other pay got lumped. So it was a budgeted, it was an actual of $15,000 spent on other pay, which doesn't exist anywhere else in any of the budgets. And then you budgeted 12,000 for it in 23-24, and you spent actually $33,665 on other pay. you budgeted $16,000 for it, according to,
Are you in sewer now?
Where are you?
No.
She's not looking at anything you see. She's looking at the.
I'm looking at the book, the 2024 annual report, under sewer plant, other pay was budgeted at 16,000, and it was proposed to be for 2025-26 to be 30,000. Now, other pay was going to be explained to me last year and never was.
Is it overtime or something like that?
No, overtime is separately listed, vacation is separately listed, holiday is separately listed, sick is separately listed. And
I'd
I was trying to get an explanation
Well,
of
I'd
that
have
here.
to confirm that for sure, but other pay to me is covering, all else is covering on-call. The guys at the wastewater plant are on call 365.
Okay, I
and
would
we
like
pay
an
them for that,
explanation
so-
for what other pay is.
So there's 4 guys down there, and every 4 weeks, they rotate. So Saturday and Sunday, if you go down to the plant, you're gonna see somebody at that plant, because we check everything daily.
Why wouldn't that be an overtime?
Because it's an alternate pay.
They were
That's the
parsing
way-
it
that's
in
the-
so many directions. and,
That's
you know,
the way
were
they
figuring-
broke it out and for years.
Yeah, they were figuring holiday pay, overtime pay, sick pay. They were doing them all separately.
They are,
So,
but other pay doesn't appear
I'm not
anywhere
saying we
else.
shouldn't look at the question. I'm just trying to give you an answer to the question.
Okay.
So
We can.
why wasn't it answered last year? It was asked very clearly.
I don't know, Pam. Last year was a shit show. You know that and I know that, right? I can't be responsible for last year. At this point,
No,
all I can do
but-
is try and fix this year.
Not you
No.
being asked personally to explain.
Right, so the
All
answer to your
the
question is,
facts.
we don't know, but I'm certainly happy to try and ask the question this year.
Okay.
So I'll go
And-
find out if other pay was even a thing that got lumped somewhere this year, or if it's not even there anymore.
Right. And the same thing happened with water salaries, as happened with sewer, which was that there's these personnel expenses that are separate, and I'd like to know whether or not we're paying for Social Security twice, or whether or not that's the Social Security of somebody up top somewhere. The same happened in sewer is happening in water.
So-
Personnel expenses.
May I suggest, can you give the line items on a piece of paper to Rick, and he will find the answer for the next meeting?
Sure, well, I mean, it's just personnel expenses, 1983 here to 1993. Whose social security is it, is the question, and the same was true in the sewer budget, and when we were talking about it.
Okay. Again, I can double check with Carrie. I'm almost positive what you're looking at there is the breakdown for the 4 staff were divided between water and sewer. I
That's
think.
fine, just
I'll
like-
double check with her, but I'm almost sure that's the answer to the question. And I'll say, I have a lot more confidence this year. Like Carrie has done a lot of work to actually figure out, she's a stickler in a way I never have been, for actually following through to the actual total real amount. Like it's driving her crazy that we still don't have a number for insurances from VLCT for this coming year, because they haven't gotten their act together and given it to us yet. And I was like, okay, well, it's close, just call it that. So,
And why in administration for both sewer and water, is there employee work attire?
again, where are you, please?
So in water, I am at
Because
line,
I oversee a union crew, and that's where all their uniforms
under admin.
are under admin.
Okay, fine.
What he said.
Pardon?
What he said. Anything else y'all want to talk about in here?
Well, one last thing, the water tower contract, which I never approved of to begin with, but other people have liked, but you know, nobody asked me. 2017, underwater, you know, the first 5 years or so, we paid $90,000 a year for the water tower maintenance contract. And then I thought it was supposed to be 2020, 2020, 2020 for the next 10 years. And what happens is every year it goes up. And could somebody check in the contract and make sure that they were allowed to raise it a couple of a thousand here
It
and a
jumps
thousand
around
there?
like that, Ian,
Pardon?
throughout the whole, the last 10 years jumps around like that.
No, it steadily went from the 20 to 21, 22. All I'm asking is for somebody to look at the contract and make sure they were allowed to add more than the 20 that I thought
It
was
wa-
agreed
so
upon.
every-
Suez does a pretty good job of spelling that out in the contract.
Every year was a
That's-
different number.
Right, every
I
year
can
is a
pull the
different
con,
number.
I can go in my office and
So-
grab the
Okay.
contract right now.
The contracts that we did with that company, every year was a different number, and it's all spelled out to the T before you sign the
Good
contract.
Like this year was actually jumped up a little bit, and I just got the report because they did a complete inspection of the tower. It all depends on what it is that they're doing that specific year.
Exactly,
And that depends on the tower's maintenance schedule relative to
correct.
its age.
exactly.
Yep.
I have a dumb question. How do you keep the water tower from freezing? Is it just the constant cycle of ground temperature water that's going in and going out?
So the one on the west side of town doesn't have a mixer or anything in it.
Okay. No
It's just the
agitator,
fluctuation that it's never.
55 in,
The new tower has that, you know.
is that why we
Of
pay
course,
so much?
that one, the turnover is not gonna be as much as this one.
Is that, is that and the boosters and the pumps, is that why we pay 15 grand a month in electric?
No, probably. Between the arsenic plant, which it's all encompassed. You got the
Mhm.
2 wells, the arsenic plant, the booster station, anything to do with the water
It's
is.
a lot of money for juice, yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, well, we're not flat, so
No.
there'll be a lot of pumps
Yeah.
and booster stations.
flat, that's for sure.
Good. Any other questions on, I think we,
So I think if I just did my math right, the water, we're looking at a 5% budget increase.
Because you've removed the depreciation in addition to the other stuff.
I did not remove the depreciation on the water side. But
I don't think there was.
I don't think does it have it?
It didn't have.
It didn't have it for water.
It's zero.
Nobody put it in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
So
'cause they, what, they only add it once the
They
year
only
is
add
done
it.
and accounted for?
this time that was only added in sewer. They had added it in water in the 25 budget.
Yeah.
This is why I don't.
it's in the 26.
I think it's an error.
It's a
Yeah.
crash, great.
I don't think, it wasn't in our original budgets. I think somebody, when they went back in, added those numbers out of the financial statements.
Yeah.
We didn't pay for
Yeah,
depreciation.
so that may be an inexperienced thing on Carrie's part, that she just followed it because she didn't know.
Yeah.
So we'll look into that one for sure.
So I'm thinking we probably are going to need one more meeting.
Well, so that's my process question, actually. The thing that I want to make sure we don't lose sight of is, if I'm not wrong, John, we have to, if we're going to do any rate adjustment left in this year, it has to be done by the 31st of this month, right?
Well, if we want it
If we want any final rate adjustment in this
in this
fiscal
fiscal year.
it would have to be determined and recommended to the council in time for action before the 31st of January, right?
Take effect in what, March?
To take effect in the March, yeah, I think it would take effect in the March,
The
It's a
February,
May
March,
billing.
April
it's
cycle.
a May billing, thank you,
Yeah.
okay. And the reason I ask is because I just want to make sure that you all have done a really fabulous job that I had nothing to do with in the previous 2 iterations, where you went through and did your best to try and make sure that we are projecting to come out even at the end of the year, not too far in the black and nowhere in the red. And I just want to make sure that do we need to do that calculation again, is what I'm asking, I guess.
Well,
Do we have the information?
I think we're absolutely going to need to look at it for the month of April to do so that the council can consider whether or not an adjustment for the cycle beginning with the billing that begins May 1. Of course, that billing is going to be May, June, July, so it's not going to be until the next fiscal year.
That's what I'm saying. If we want to do one in this fiscal year to make sure we finish this fiscal year in the black, it's got to be determined by the end of this month.
Right, so we need the absolutely most up-to-date possible year-to-date figures
and know what the principal
And know
and
what the
interest
warrant
is going to
cutoff
be if we
date
pay it
is and
this
so on.
year.
Well, yeah, and we need the next round of meter readings so we know
Yeah.
what we don't just need budget numbers, we need
We need to be
water
able to project
usage.
how the
We've got the
changes.
November.
That,
Oh, you
that's,
got November?
Yeah, I got November.
yeah,
Yeah.
so, yeah, that's the problem, because the next round of meter readings is February 1. We
Yeah.
have to act
Yeah.
before February
What are
1.
we gonna lose?
But we need to have, you know, what we're paying on the, well, obviously the interim loan, any of those, the sewer loan, we need those all.
Yeah, those
broken
numbers
down.
shouldn't be hard to come by now. We have those.
Yeah, so if we have those, then we can do our sort of, plug it into our other budget.
By we, I'm really hoping you mean I. Is that what you mean?
We don't really have anything to really plug it into necessarily. Oh, that's something different that I did for the last meeting. That is just the city usage and just goes to show it's probably not worth bothering to build them.
That's kind of what I was wondering.
Yeah, it just is, it's minuscule. But I don't know that we have enough valid data fully.
I wouldn't
Oh,
think
we-
until after February readings.
The only.
Is it well, what I'm saying, what I want to say is that, like, if we're going with the October numbers or November, whatever they are, that's the end of the peak usage season. We don't know how much that drops
Yeah,
between then and February.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's
We
true.
could really overshoot by raising the rates.
yeah.
Well,
Undershoot by
Undershoot,
raising the rates and
undershoot.
actually not selling
I
that
mean,
much
we
water.
could project based on historically what we've seen for the drop off.
Right.
But then we had, you know, August is a wretched billing because we were in a major drought, which we
Yeah.
weren't the year before.
Yeah.
So we've got some, you know, incredible, you know, variables in usage. I mean, we could try and see if we think we're really far off and do something. I mean, the only thing we've got, obviously, the play on the 5% capital reserve.
So if we were to get, you know, the numbers from downstairs from what they billed out for in November,
I have those.
it doesn't matter what we've received. We're assuming it's a, you know, accrual basis, right? So we're just
That's
gonna
right.
say that's our first 2 quarters income.
Yeah.
Is that even? That's only 1 quarter.
No, that's two.
2.
We have the prior one too.
Okay.
I've got all those figures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have 2 quarters.
I mean, we can do that and try to figure out historically, because I've got umpteen years worth of history, but we're seeing the usage consistently go down.
November.
So this is one of the things. One of the things we don't know, and I was thinking of this, is really the major question is how many gallons have gone through, because we have not gotten a potable water. You know, what's pumped out of the well to compare with what we're
Yeah,
billing
production
out.
versus actually delivery.
Yeah,
We
and
can't-
that,
you know,
that I think would be, again, interesting if we're seeing a drop off in that.
Yeah.
Because that's where, you know, when we meter, everything's gonna go down.
Yeah.
Because just historically, what we're seeing is the people, and we are picking up the cream of the crop of the lower end, but I think we're gonna see a lot of this go down. I mean, some people have gone up, but it's, you know, it really, it's up, you know, leaky toilets. They're
Yeah.
gonna, as soon as they go on a meter, they'll
We
fix
just
it.
talked about that, Pam.
I really am adamant, like, if we're going to adjust rates, we need to lower our equivalent unit. We cannot be giving people 13,500 gallons for a flat rate. Nobody does that.
Well, we
That's like
don't
almost
really,
50% more.
you aren't. Anybody below 13.5 is paying more per gallon than anybody over 13.5. Because you're picking it up, because we've got the base charge, and then you pay for your water usage.
In addition to 13.5.
Yes,
Correct.
yeah.
So you're saying nobody's actually using more than 8? Because if we lower the equivalent unit to 8 or 8,500 per quarter, we're going to generate more income by having those higher users pay a premium per gallon.
And technically,
So you want to
now
drop the 13.5 down to,
8.5 is what I saw a lot of.
and then
I
up the
can-
per gallon.
I tell you what,
Cost.
why
Per
don't,
thousand.
why don't I flow it without changing our rates? So we can flow it historically, because that's easy to do. Because all the spreadsheets I have, every single metered account, I have the usage in a spreadsheet with a program for figuring out.
I mean, so the benefit to what Patrick is proposing is that you are going to see water usage drop. Water efficiency, I mean, people are not going to use water when they're paying, but if their bill is coming in under what they're using all the time, and that makes the connection fee
Yeah.
less.
The problem is that where you need to get it is the people who aren't metered. That's,
Oh, we can still,
yeah. But that's a different rate, and somebody I know is against having too many different rates.
I am, but we gotta get meters in.
And we gotta pay the bill.
And we gotta pay the bills.
So can somebody explain to me what the difference between 13.5 and the 8.5 means in common?
Say it's like, say you're spending, what is it, $60 for a connection fee. That comes with 13,500 gallons per quarter.
Right.
Whether you use it or not, you get 13,500 gallons. If we lower that, so you're only getting 8,500 gallons per quarter, if you use 80 or 9,500 gallons, you're gonna pay a connection fee plus a premium rate on top for that 1,000 extra gallons. So that's generating more revenue. For using the same amount of water, unfortunately,
But everybody else is gonna pay more. It's very close.
why would they be paying more if they're using below the 8,500 gallons? They're still, that's assuming we're not changing the actual connection fee. We're just, more people are gonna trigger that premium rate at every additional 1,000 gallons. Mind you, Pam, you're scoffing over there, I hear it, but most people don't breach 8,500 gallons. Like, we're not
Do you have your
going.
bill right here?
No, I don't.
Okay, because if you are under that and we divide your bill by the per gallon cost, which is what after
Right.
13.5 it is,
Yeah.
you will find that you are paying more, say over 13.5, it's $5 a gallon. You are paying $6 a gallon. Because-
Below 13.5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you drop that off, then the potential is we will lose more money, basically. The city, I
If
think
you
it
didn't
was-
change the per
Collect-
1,000
yeah.
gallon cost.
Yeah. I mean, you can do it. I mean, the best thing to do is we can talk about that and we can flow it afterwards. And just see.
So
We
I,
have to know how much water we're billing for and what our budget is, and then
Yeah.
we can,
Yeah, and let
The
me,
biggest
let
thing
me
is-
work on that, and
Right.
I'll do it in 1,000-gallon increments. Because if I have to adjust it, I can adjust it so we know how many of the people are within what realm of
And
usage.
while you're making assumptions, Patrick, about what my reaction may or may not be, I am reacting to a discussion which is about how can we extricate more money out of people who are already paying a lot of money.
no, that's not what it's about, Pam. It's trying to figure out the
No.
fairest way to try and allocate the cost of the entire system across the board.
Yeah.
So I don't want to, you're suggesting motive that I don't think is an appropriate suggestion.
Oh, I
I didn't,
just got a motive aimed at me.
well, your facial expressions often invite.
Yeah, I mean,
judgment.
you're asking for a reaction, so like, I'm gonna address you because you're clearly having a reaction to it, and so
Well-
trying to explain.
So,
If we don't charge people, we can't pay the bills. I don't know how else
Even
to.
I can figure that out, thank you, despite being a little old lady. What you do need to recognize is people are paying a lot of money right now, and all of our bills are going up and up. We've just got to be conscious of that.
so listen, Pam, this whole conversation tonight.
I'm not out of that inclusive group of people, right? So like,
Right, what we're talking about here is the fact that for a decade, we have undercharged our users,
Fully aware of that.
and that's part of the reason we're in the mess we're in. So all we're trying to do now is figure out how in the world do we get to the fairest possible way to administer the full cost of the program.
So let's see. I have to admit the 13.5 worked out very well because it was a very nice sweet spot and ended up our larger users were picking up the majority of the share of the basically the cost of the system. So they were paying fairly when before on our old schedule they weren't paying fairly. And some other people, like some of the apartment buildings, were paying quite a bit more when, technically they weren't using it. But, at least we've come to some equity. Right now, we've got 459,
Yeah, so actually,
that is potentially a problem.
Unmetered,
Right.
yeah, so that carries me to the point that here are the two kind of layperson's points, right? Because I really don't understand, Jennifer, the stuff that goes on in your head around the mechanics of this. Right?
Nobody understands.
I don't
my
think
head,
anybody
don't
does.
worry.
The people who say they do, I'm pretty sure they're lying to me,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, but let me just say, the two primary points that I want to make are, one, I don't think we're going to get, Patrick, to the place where we can really make the determination you're talking about until we're done the installation project, or very close to it. I think that's part of, we need to look at what our overall usage is going to be. We'll have a whole lot more idea of what overall usage is on average. Anyway, I'm not sure that we can make those determinations in the next month or even in the next 4 or 5 months. But what I do think we need to do is make sure, even if it means raising the rates and we're not sure we're going to have to use it all, if we have to shoot a little high, we can always adjust the rates down on the following quarter, right? And I just want to make sure whatever we do not finish this year in a deficit position in these two funds.
And what is the difference between increasing the base rate in terms of the high users, like the businesses, as opposed to raising or lowering the 13.5 to 8.5? What about if we just raise whatever that base rate is? How does that affect?
Your problem is, okay, just take the base rate. Say everybody here is paying $40 base rate. But Rick is a low user, so he pays an additional 10. Patrick is double that at paying 20. I'm the industry, so I'm paying 150 more. If you only change the 40, then I'm only paying 150 more, but I'm paying 50 as the base. So technically, those two guys,
Getting robbed.
yeah,
Right.
Which is why we should lower the equivalent units and have the threshold of you're paying a premium for
Start it.
additional 1,000 gallons start at a more reasonable number than
85.
Why
It's-
can't you have that premium just increase for the high users?
that's what I would. I wasn't suggesting changing the base rate.
No,
fee.
now I'm saying you've got a number of people who you know are going over the 13.5 and you charge them a premium rate. Why can't the premium rate be double what?
So this is gonna drive Jennifer crazy. But you could, so real quick, in both scenarios, you can make both scenarios come out to the same amount of money that you're bringing in, right? Whether it's adjusting
different
how much
knobs,
is,
yeah.
right, it's just, but you could, if you really want to tax the high users, you could, base rate for, your base rate's 8,000 gallons. Up to 15,000 gallons could be X
Yeah,
number
tiered-
per thousand.
tiered rate,
And you
yeah.
could tier it, so the higher, the caveat to that is that the more you charge people, the more water usage is gonna cut back. So.
Positive feedback loop.
It's right. You're still going to continually.
Until you hit that equilibrium where you can't save
Right.
any more water. Right.
Someday, this city is going to be able to say our budget is going up 3%. All we got to do is raise our rate 3%.
But we can't do it until everything's metered.
We can't do it until everything's
And all the
metered.
losses are fixed.
And the losses are fixed. Exactly.
yeah. And you can go to a schedule like that.
Yeah.
Right now, it's not beneficial because it isn't worth putting it in, because then we wouldn't be able to have any idea what we're gonna bring in.
Right, right.
So, that's why I argued, keep the old structure.
I think part of what I hear you saying is, right now, the 13.5 helps you to compare apples to apples historically.
We probably can lower it, and I experimented with doing that at one point, but to be honest, it was a while ago, and I don't remember how it worked out.
Gee, I can't imagine why not.
Yeah, I have to admit, I do know that when I flowed some of them on a slightly different scheduling that we were doing, but the same thing, it ended up, we hit the sweet spot. If you lowered it, it ended up, the low users paid more, and it just, either way, it was like we had just found that marvelous, thing, because either side, it screwed it up.
Yeah.
Which was, it didn't make sense, so I have to admit, I dropped that out of my memory bank, except for the fact of just saying, it was somehow a sweet spot we found.
Yeah.
But I think, it's irrational. I think it's 150 gallons a day.
Right.
And that is,
It's essentially a four-person home is breaking even. A two-person home is kind of getting it put to them.
Yeah.
Because they're never going to hit that 13.
Mm-hmm.
And then over 4 people,
yeah.
you're getting your 13, then you're paying for the extra.
Yeah.
So,
and now with the low flush toilets, nobody's doing a wash. I mean, we're doing a wash and taking a bath every single day to utilize that.
Yeah.
Practically.
Yeah.
It just, it's phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
But you look, and yes, our usage is down there overall. You have a lot of people who are, under, literally under 8.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So just to double back, and then we got to finish. Jennifer, I'm hoping that what I'm hearing you say is that after we get through the budget town meeting on Saturday, and Carrie has a little more bandwidth, that next week you'll come talk with Carrie and maybe Chip if you need help from him, whoever you need help from, to get the numbers you need to try and get a projection on whether or not we should adjust the rates one more time this year. And I'm fine with the answer no, believe me. Like I don't want to do it. I am bound and determined that we're going to be fiscally responsible and not end the year in the
A
red.
lot of it is that extra debt service, because that was not budgeted for.
Yeah.
That's the main
Well,
thing.
we budgeted
Budgeted some.
some, yeah.
And we were close. We weren't far off, and
Okay.
we adjusted for that already. The last adjustment, we had those numbers and we were figuring it.
As
The
long
old,
as it-
and in fact, we also figured some staffing that Tom didn't end up using.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm counting on that, just so you know, to help us cover the merit increase that the council just had to do in order to make sure we didn't lose somebody critical to the operation. So
So we're running out of nights to meet in January.
we sure are, because the council's meeting every damn night.
Before we meet or schedule a meeting, I've got some of these like info sheet bullet points that we want to put in mailing. I need numbers, like for instance, the water fund, at the start of 2025, the water fund owed the sewer fund a certain amount of.
Chip,
Well, I'm not going to communicate with Chip.
Carrie and Chip.
So do you want me to send this to you and Carrie?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yes,
Go ahead.
we can come up with that. If you're specific about the questions you're asking, Carrie can get those answers for you.
Okay.
So if we, as far out as we can push any of these decisions in terms of the council, is either the council meeting on the 26th or squeezing it in on the 28th.
We could, if it's just a recommendation about how to manage rates, we could put it on the 28th. It won't take more than a few minutes.
And then the 28th would still give us time to be water and sewer commissioners too, I suppose. And
If we have to.
bless the final budgets.
Yeah, we could do, that's probably the time to do it, yeah.
Okay, so I'm looking ahead here at the week of the 21st, which is the short, Martin Luther King week. The only night I've got open that whole week is the 22nd.
What day of the week?
That's Thursday the 22nd.
I've got that day. I've opened that day.
Me too.
Yeah. It should be.
So if
I can come a little late. We're gonna do a warming shelter opening potluck that night, we hope, with volunteers. So, but I can come, Pam and I can come late.
And then, well, she can be
Ann
here
can be
anyway.
here, yeah, either way, but
I don't feel.
that's gonna start at 5:30, so we should be able to be here, you know, I don't know how we'll do it yet.
Uh,
Yeah, there's a
22nd at
Newport
6:30.
Center Select Board meeting, 5:30, and I made it here on time.
Yeah. Well, and if it would help, we could say 7 o'clock instead of 6.
It probably would help.
22nd.
Yes.
Okay, so we're doing it at 7.
So,
Do we feel like we've got through all of this budget? I sort of thought we only got through to.
I think you are welcome to keep looking, and if you have questions, bring them to Carrie and Chip and Tom, and we'll figure it out. So that what we're looking at is the tightest budget, the most accurate budget we can have when we pass it.
So on the 22nd, are we gonna talk about meter cutoff policies and ADUs, all things we didn't get to tonight?
I don't think we'll,
Okay.
I doubt that we get to any of that, frankly.
Okay.
By
On
the
the
time we
22nd.
finalize the budget
Yeah.
aspect of it and deal with whether or not we need to tweak the rates again.
Yeah.
So on the 22nd, are we gonna have the data on whether or not what's in the salaries, not in the salary section? I mean, answers on that.
We will try to have the
All the
answers
answers.
for that for you, yes. But, and honestly, the other answer to that is Carrie and I can work on that next week, and if you've got questions, we can try and answer them. We won't wait till the meeting.
Fine.
Let's just talk about it. Okay. Feel free to jog me on that a little bit. I'll run through these questions with Carrie tomorrow, but we won't begin looking at them until next week for sure.
The only thing I want to address is that I did do a flow of the, whatever it is, 8 city accounts, their utilization, what it would be for billing water and sewer, though I don't think the greenhouse really has much that adds to the sewer. But if we did all of that in there for the November 25 billing, it would have added $4,700. And the major of that being, needless to say, Prouty Beach, but that was $1,400. So it's not major.
Okay.
And then we go back, May was 1,500, and February was 1,600. So we've got, about 5,000, and the rest are, 1,500 each one. So it's just, I don't know whether it
Maybe
would
10
be
grand
worth it.
overall, and that includes a drought year, right?
Yeah. You can see it, the greenhouse used 66, I guess that's million. And
So is there a reason?
Million gallons?
Oh, yeah, there's about 66,000, I guess.
Thousand.
No, there's one that, no, it's sewer treatment plant, which isn't on this one. Sorry, it's on a different one.
It's like, I thought
What
we only
about
made
camper?
like
The
a million
part of the
gallons, 2 million
camper
gallons a
fee?
month.
Jeez.
What about part of the camper fee for the water and sewage they use?
I don't know whether they do that, but still, we're talking 2,000. But to be honest, most of that is the Prouty Beach is the watering the grounds has got to be.
You can withdraw up to 10,000 gallons per day from a water body of the state of Vermont without a permit. We should be irrigating with lake water.
That's healthier.
So are you saying you don't think it's worth it for there to be interdepartmental charges for water?
On most of these, I would say no. Potentially Prouty Beach, but is it worth the tracking? I don't know. I mean, that's one of the things is
By the time you're done,
yeah.
I don't know, let's put the conversation off for another time, shall we? I think we're done.
Because it's coming from one to another, and it's not significantly going to increase like what we could build, Derby. If it was major, then maybe, but,
Okay, let's build Derby.
well, we can't, the major use that we're seeing here is literally past Prouty Beaches, the greenhouse. And that, that's
Okay.
water only.
You calling it? Hint?
Okay, call it.
You call it?
think we're
John's
done.
calling it,
We're
right?
done.
Oh, call it.
We're
Thank you,
adjourned, I
everybody.
think.